to do the Eiffel Tower thing, the Louvre. What did Michael Jordan call it? The Louvre or something? What did you do?
No, I didn't do any. I've been to Paris before.
No
so
art. No art.
No, I've
you've
done
been
that
to Paris
before.
before. Oh,
yeah, I lived in San Sebastian. I was an exchange student back in the 90s.
So this
not
is
an exchange student, but
this is Peyton continuing the Jacobson legacy.
Right, but these kids, I told them too, I go, you guys have it so good because we didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't have email. We actually had to write letters, to our family members and to our loved ones and friends. And I would wait by the mailbox every week, hoping I'd get a letter from home. And then if you were lucky, you can get a calling card and call on Sundays. You go to a payphone. I said, you guys, I could FaceTime you right now from anywhere in the world and we can instantly connect. So you guys have got it really good.
What was the weather like?
Oh, it was awful. It rained every day.
Was it warm?
No, it was cold and rainy the whole time.
Oh. Well, the good news there is you don't have to see the women in their armpit hair. Right?
Not a lot of good-looking women in France, that part of France. But then when we went to the Netherlands, those people are gorgeous.
Those are fighting words.
They are.
Don in Cincinnati, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Amy, welcome back. Amy. Verdun.
Yeah, I tried. I just give up, Don.
Verdun.
I know.
Yeah, just Verdun is what you. But just let it go, Don. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I will. And not to bemoan the point, but I'm not sure what France you went to, Amy. But I've been there on multiple occasions, been all over the country, and I've been treated with respect and kindness and welcoming. And in Normandy, which is in western France, not southern France, Americans are. Thank you again. And Americans are worshipped.
As well as we should be. So, yes.
So, Amy, go back, take your time, get a map, and do it right. And I don't blame you. Amy, it's okay. I don't blame you. I blame Hersey High School. You guys have a good day.
Yeah, very good, Don. Thanks for the call. It's true. It's another cautionary tale about the government school system. There's no question about it. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hey, Amy, I'm so glad you're back. So I wondered how your babble...
What does that mean? Is it like you're relieved I'm not left to my own devices? What do you... Is that a shot?
No, I just...
We like girl
you're
talk.
Better as a duo. I like...
Oh, I see.
Okay. I like you.
All right.
I like you both.
Like Captain without Tennille. I got it.
Sunny without Cher.
Okay, so I took 6 years of French, and I've never been to France, and I have really no desire to go. And, we've been to Ireland. My husband hated it there because everybody
Irish? Because everybody was Irish? Yeah, I understand.
Because everybody was drunk? No, I'm just kidding.
No, we don't.
You don't get it. You don't get enough Irish around Chicago, for God's sakes. The only reason to go to Ireland is to play golf.
That's true.
I'm no professional Irish person. Never have been. My dad. You're an American. No, you're not Irish. We didn't partake in all that stuff when we were kids. We didn't have shamrocks in our windows or Aran sweaters. My parents weren't into that stuff.
Did everybody play the bagpipes before dinner?
They do all over Keystone Avenue when they had the freaking St. Patrick's Day parade.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awful. But we're going to get to Italy because that's my husband's
beautiful.
all Italian, and I want to go there. And we're not going to any of the. I don't want to go to the Vatican. I don't want to go to those places because we hate crowds. We want to go somewhere, beautiful, and like the Louvre or whatever. What did Jordan call it? The Louvre.
Jordan tried to sound it out phonetically, and it didn't go well. But anyway, yeah.
I don't want to see the Mona Lisa. It's a small little painting. Like, I don't care.
Plus, it's covered in soup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, gosh. Well, no reason to spend all that money and go to I'm not going to France. We have my husband hates French people. Not hates, but he's like, the armpit. Oh.
Hey, where does your husband like to? He doesn't like Ireland. He doesn't like the French. Where does he like to go?
He doesn't like to Italy. That's where
he just wants to go to Italy.
Amy,
I understand.
You just said the women in Netherlands were beautiful, and why did they look like you?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was really tall.
Looking in the mirror, right?
Oh, exactly. Yes, the judge.
I think it's beautiful. Sure. That's wonderful. And then when I was in Ireland, I'm like, everybody here looks familiar. I did not want to hang there.
Yeah.
It was not a place for me. My late brother got married there, and that was the only way, I was ever going to really go. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not a world traveler. No, I don't want to.
That's right. You're a homebody.
All right,
It's
well,
okay.
that's fine. That's fine.
I'm a
All
homebody.
right.
But it was clean and not everybody was rude, but just they do not speak English. So every conversation started like, bonjour, parlez-vous anglais?
Bonjour. Right.
Bonjour, and everybody was sing song happy,
Parlez-vous français? Yeah, they
Men
don't
talk
want
like this,
you.
everybody.
They don't. Yeah, they don't like us. I mean, so that's what my husband
No,
says.
that's
Why
not
would you
what
go somewhere where they don't
Johnny
like
Fever
us?
in Cincinnati said. He said he was treated with well, especially in Normandy,
Well,
which is
Normandy, I'm
understandable.
sure it's a different story.
Well,
Yeah.
No, I'm done. I can see everything on the internet now. You can just
Sure. Why ever leave your welcoming community of Western Springs? You have the internet. You and Heidi Rudolph or whatever her name is can hang out and
get out of here.
Yeah.
I do.
All right.
This is insane that I even live here. I gotta get out. That's
All right.
I don't know.
All
I
right.
don't know if Naples is the right place. I don't know where, but not here.
Yes.
Somewhere in the United States.
Naples, Florida, not Naples, Italy. That's not a part of Naples you want to visit.
Hawaii, Kanapali, play golf till I die. That would
Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii's good.
Yeah.
Except for the socialists. Thanks for
the
the call, Mary Kay. Appreciate it. All right, coming up at 5:38, we're done with the show and tell
Yes, thank
portion of the show. We will move on to the contretemps over Ukraine aid. What part of the message is McConnell and Senate Republicans, which part of it are they not receiving? That's at 5:38.
But first, let's stop by the newsroom and say good morning to Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Now, facts. There's only one beautiful Dutch person at this radio station, and it is me.
It is you.
It is me.
You're very good. It was the land of Mike Scott.
Just establishing facts. Go to Rotterdam, where my people are from. This morning, we're watching in Gaza, where health officials say there are many injured from Israeli airstrikes brought to Gaza hospitals over the past day. The war began, of course, with Hamas's assault into Israel on October 7, in which militants killed 1,200 people, mostly civilians, abducting around 250. House will try again to impeach a cabinet secretary. Fox's Ryan Schmelz has details.
It'll be round 2 for House Republicans trying to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, but this time they'll have some backup. Majority Leader Steve Scalise will be back on the Hill after receiving cancer treatments in Louisiana. His one vote could be enough to sway the results after Republicans failed to flip 3 Republicans last time, causing the impeachment effort to fail. Mayorkas is accused of not following the law and misleading the public by telling Congress the border is secure. Democrats call it a sham impeachment and have accused Republicans of not providing DHS with the resources it needs. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Parts of the Northeast are preparing for a coastal storm, a nor'easter, if you will, expected to dump a foot of snow or more and pack 60-mile-an-hour winds. Hazardous driving conditions, school closings, and for folks here in the Midwest, flight cancellations to the East Coast are predicted. A backcountry skier and snowmobiler killed in separate avalanches in the Rocky Mountains. There's warnings of dangerous snow conditions persisting across much of the West. An unusual special election in the New York City suburbs could be a bellwether for the fight for control of Congress. Former U.S. Representative Tom Suozzi, a Democrat, faces off with Republican Mazie Phillip in a county lawmaker. Of course, this is the race for a House seat that became vacant when George Santos was expelled from Congress. New Orleans Carnival season nearing its Fat Tuesday climax. 2 of the city's favorite Mardi Gras parades were set to roll this morning on major thoroughfares. Other big parades were set for the suburbs, tens of thousands on hand. Expecting later today sunny but chilly weather on the bayou. Federal judge in Chicago has sentenced former chief of staff to longtime Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan to 2.5 years in prison for lying under oath to a grand jury. Prosecutors told jurors that Tim Mapes lied repeatedly when he testified in 2021. Mapes is to report to prison in mid-June to begin his sentence. A federal judge has again delayed the wire fraud and money laundering trial of former gubernatorial candidate William Sam McCann. Meantime, a bad day for Chicago Democrats got worse as former state legislator Anjanette Collins was convicted Monday on 4 of 6 tax-related charges. Chicago police are investigating a home in Rogers Park where human remains were discovered on Monday. And the family of a man shot and killed by Carroll Stream Police has viewed body camera footage from the officers involved in the shooting and is demanding that it be released to the public, making claims that their worst fears were confirmed.
The video is horrific. They lied. What they did was unjustified. They went in there and they shot my brother in his sleep.
Last week, the Isaac Goodloe family revealed he was bipolar and may have been suffering from a mental health episode. DeMar DeRozan and Ayo Dosunmu combined for 58, lead the Bulls to a win over Atlanta, 136-126. The Blackhawks back on the ice facing Vancouver later tonight. The News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains the mentality.
Cis women, they call them cis women. It's like a sin to be born and recognize yourself as a woman, because that's how you were born. It's a sin. They are intentionally creating minority victim groups so they can always have a victim grievance. Always.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took. I didn't have to talk to multiple people in siloed departments with multiple forms to fill out. One call did it all. As the one who was always looking out for my clients, it was a great change to know that my bank, Signature Bank, was looking out for me.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I've been a clinical psychologist since 1991. I was licensed, and I love being a clinical psychologist because I like helping people. I tell people that Balance of Nature is a wonderful supplement because I truly trust in the product. I feel great, and because I feel great, I'm able to do everything that I want to do. I really love taking Balance of Nature.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's Dr. David Goldbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest Radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
5:39, let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Eden Green neighborhood, far south side, Indiana and 133rd. In Chicago, there is a police barricade SWAT team situation. It's been active around since about 1 a.m. this morning. Also, reported police activity this morning in South Barrington, Barrington Road, north of Route 68, right at Covered Bridge Road, and again, police are on the scene there. I-57. Stop-and-go traffic already on the south end, Halstead up to the Dan Ryan. Dan Ryan itself right now is running at about 19 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. I-55, they've shoved a semi-fire onto the right shoulder on the southbound side at Lockport Road. It occurred much earlier into the overnight, and things are beginning to clear up. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds, sunshine today, high 41, patchy clouds, and 29 overnight. Clear and 34 right now. Your next news updates at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So on Sunday, a rare quote-unquote workday for the United States Senate, senators convene to take a procedural vote to get one step closer to passing a $95 billion foreign aid bill with assistance for Ukraine, for Israel, for Ukraine again, humanitarian aid, for Gaza, Gaza and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency that has been the front for Hamas, basically. What is this tunnel system right below our headquarters? When did this get here? It's really remarkable stuff. $95 billion. So a lot of impassioned speeches and barbs being exchanged over the last 48 hours. On Sunday, and I just want to get to what I think the issue is, because you'll hear from Rand Paul momentarily. The whole $60 billion. $60 billion, we're bankrupting the country. Yeah, we're bankrupting the country, but it has very little to do with foreign aid. I mean, I get opportunity costs, and $60 billion is $60 billion, and it could be put to higher, better uses. I get that argument. But in the grand scheme of things, $60 billion represents 1% of federal outlays in FY 2023. So, I mean, let's get real about the scope and spend of our federal government, and all of the spend that is in the hundreds of billions, in point of fact, trillions, that we ignore, that we don't want to discuss, that we bob and weave around. So, I mean, there's something else going on with respect to this Ukraine aid, and we'll get to it. But, I mean, one example of what's going on is nicely presented by Mitt Romney, who is essentially, as far as I can tell, the spokeshuman for the 19 quisling Republicans that support other federal largesse like Biden's backdoor green energy Green New Deal bill that they called infrastructure. I mean, I'm sure the Venn diagram's a perfect circle, than the 19 and the 19. Here's what Romney said on the Senate floor Sunday.
The vote we will soon take to provide military weapons for Ukraine is the most important vote we will ever take as United States senators.
Really? The most important vote you'll ever take as United States Senator is a vote to send another $60 billion to Ukraine?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. We also have our text line fired up and ready to go, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
But see, that sort of speechifying is illustrative of something, which is you don't get an explanation, you don't get an argument, you get the high hat from these internationalist senators like Mitt Romney. If you don't do this, then you're not a good American, you're a Putin sympathizer or worse. Look, I don't have to I don't have to explain it to you. Just do it. Just support it. And if you don't, you're not a good person. The moralizing you're accustomed to from the left. Well, I mean, Mitt Romney is often found in that neighborhood, isn't he? So that gives you a sense of the attitude. And again, the tubing of the Senate immigration bill and the expected response from Speaker Johnson in the House, which is this $95 billion foreign aid bill isn't going anywhere. And they press on anyway. As Josh Hawley described it.
My goodness, we have enough money to make hundreds of millions of dollars of our taxpayer funds available to the private sector in Ukraine. We are now literally funding their businesses, their banks, Lord knows what. We've got money without end. We've got enough money to pay for bureaucrats' salaries. We've got enough money to pay for Ukrainian government officials' pensions. We've got enough money for so-called humanitarian aid that gets funneled away from, siphoned off into any manner of corrupt uses. We won't know because we don't have a special inspector general to oversee this money, but that's a different story. Oh, no, we've got plenty of money. And I have listened carefully to colleague after colleague of mine come to this floor and stand where I am now and say, it's so important that we spend this money on these overseas wars. We must spend the money. If we don't spend this money now, why, it may cost us more money in the future. No, it's imperative. It's imperative that we spend this money. Meanwhile, these same people turn to the citizens of Missouri and say, you're not worth a dime. They say, you can't have a penny. They turn to the residents of Kentucky and Tennessee and Alaska and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and Texas, and they say, we don't care that you were poisoned. We don't have a dime for you. We have unlimited money for Ukraine. We're going to rebuild the borders of Ukraine. That's in this bill, but we don't have anything for you.
Well, I mean, anything. It's a little bit of a stretch. Being bribed with your own money happens by the federal government in all 50 states. So let's get real about that. But Holly is onto something, too. It's this sort of the middle finger to middle America, which is, look, you have to comply with our priorities, and we don't necessarily have to pay much attention to yours. It's not about the $60 billion, because I mean these numbers are generally unfathomable,
right?
And again, in context, they become even less compelling. It's about the attitude, and Holly was getting to that. Because think about it another way: if I was to make the argument for Ukraine support, additional Ukraine support, and not be a douchebag about it like Mitt Romney. What I would say is this: look, you have it's not what it's not your priority, but think about it in this way: if America was invaded by a foreign adversary, you would go to war and fight to save your country, and you'd want help from anyone you could get it, wouldn't you?
Right.
It would be Red Dawn time. So we're in a position to help Ukraine fighting for their country, whether you think that fight is futile or not. We're in a position to help Ukraine, a relatively modest amount given the size and scope of our government and the wealth that we have in this country, to assist them in fighting for their homeland the same way that you would fight for America if we were invaded. Now, to me, like something like that, an appeal like that, again, whether you support it or don't, but at least it's an appeal that gives you perspective on it. Put yourselves in the shoes of Ukrainian patriots rather than, the focus on this very complicated and flawed figure that is Zelensky. But nobody does that because they don't feel the need to. You are here to support our priorities, and the converse is not operative.
And I know most Americans don't care where the money may be going once we send it there, but 60 Minutes, remember, did that piece saying the $60 billion that we sent, we're funding small businesses to still operate in Ukraine.
Well, that's what you just heard from Josh Hawley, right? The PPP program for Ukraine businesses, pensions, and so on and so forth. So, no, actually, we do care. And we do care about the $45 million that was stolen. And the point is to say $60 billion is something else that they don't feel the need to address, which we've talked about ad nauseum since the beginning of this, since Russia invaded. And the United States made a commitment to support Ukraine, which is
like an open checkbook.
So tell me what the program is. We're going to provide X that is going to provide Y to Ukraine, and we're going to measure it how so that we can make assessments about, is this a fruitful endeavor to subsidize the Ukrainian defense? But you don't get any of that. You don't get any detail. You get $60 billion. It gets tubed along with the in the context of the surrender, the border security surrender legislation that was co-authored by Langford and Murphy. And they're right back at it with the same $60 billion that was in the bill that got scuttled for Ukraine. And they don't. And there's no additional color on this. It's just do it.
Right.
It's the most important vote. This is
because I said so.
You're either on this side of the Maginot Line or the other side.
Well, what about what Senator J.D. Vance, he tweeted out that, part of this Ukrainian bill, if you read in between the lines, that it can mean impeachment.
Well,
for Trump presidency, if he gets elected, if he tries to stop funding to Ukraine. Yeah,
we have that. J.D. Vance explaining it on the most recent installment of Tucker Carlson's program, that one of the other things that is disingenuous and problematic about this, disingenuous, particularly given the moralizing and the indignation that you're treated to from the likes of Mitt Romney, is it locks in a future president on the chance that Trump gets elected. They don't want him to be able to stop the flow of cash to Ukraine. And it also provides a predicate for another impeachment over the issue if he did.
Is that it sends $61 billion to Ukraine to fund, as you said, a hopeless war in Eastern Europe. It will decimate the Ukrainian population even more than it's already been decimated. So it's a terrible, terrible piece of legislation on the policy. The second thing I want to say, Tucker, though, is that it doesn't just fund Ukraine in 2024. And this is the most important point. It actually funds Ukraine in 25 and 26. Now, what's the problem with that? Say, for example, that we have a new president in 2025. That president would be handcuffed by the promises that we are making in law to Ukraine today. If you go back to 2019, Tucker, to try to give you a sense of why this matters. In 2019, the U.S. House impeached then President Donald Trump on the theory that they had appropriated money to Ukraine, and Donald Trump refused to send it to Ukraine. So if Trump is elected president again and become president on January of 2025, he will conduct diplomacy. And if that diplomacy does not include sending additional billions to Ukraine, there is a theoretical argument, a predicate, if you will, for impeaching Donald Trump because they have tried to tie his hands. And the final point I'll make on this, Tucker, is that the Washington Post has already said, based on leaks from inside the intel community, the purpose of this legislation is to tie a future President Trump's hands. We're not just sending billions to Ukraine in 2024. We're trying to make it impossible for the next president to conduct diplomacy on his terms. It's anti-democratic, and it will lead to endless war all over the world.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Mark in Oak Lawn.
Dan, Amy, thanks for taking my call. Good morning. You know, I look at Vietnam, Iraq, I mean, all these useless wars, you know, why we got all these problems over here. We got a $33 trillion deficit. It's like a Ponzi scheme. They just keep printing more money, printing more money. When are we going to get any discipline and say enough is enough? And you know, there's too many war hawks on the Republican side, and there's too many crooks on the Democratic side who are looking at funneling money through illegal ways and making money on it. And I wish a lot of the Republicans would speak up and say these wars are a mistake, you know, but they don't.
Well, a lot of them are. Thanks for the call, Mark. A lot of them are. J.D. Vance is, Rand Paul is. Here's Rand Paul.
Open the champagne, pop the cork. The Senate Democrat leader and the Republican leader are on their way to Kiev. They've got $60 billion they're bringing. I don't know if it'll be cash in pallets, but they're taking your money to Kiev. Now, they didn't have much time, really no time and no money to do anything about our border. We're being invaded. A literal invasion's coming across our border. 800,000 people came illegally in the last month, and all they had time to do in the Senate was get the money, get the cash pallets, load the planes, get the champagne ready, and fly to Kiev.
Yeah, that sarcasm is speaking to a frustration that 19 Senate Republicans, including the leader there, McConnell, are dutifully ignoring to their peril and to the party's peril. Really. Something to that, too. I think there is, so what Mark and Oak Lawn said, you know, the United States is subsidizing death of Americans, death of foreign nationals in faraway lands. I mean, the death toll in Ukraine is substantial. I mean, the average age of a Ukrainian soldier is approaching 50. Now,
Right.
Again, hey, look, I'm 50, and if we were invaded, then I'm ready to do my part and fight for my country. So I'm not discounting the Ukrainian people's attitude about repelling a foreign invader. And it's not flacking for Putin to describe this. But I mean, we have to make our own assessments, too, ideally in collaboration with who we're supporting. But if we can't get agreement on approach from who we're otherwise underwriting in part, and the other underwriters like the EU countries, then we need to make our own independent assessment about what makes the most sense for America in this. And people are tired of it. I get it. Bill, Northwest
Ukrainian
Side.
people.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah, Dan. That's the same thing. 6 months from now, we're going to hear the same thing. We need another $60 billion.
Yep.
And 6 months after that, the same thing. We need another $60 billion. When does it end? You know, do we really want to help the Ukrainian people? Blinken should get on a plane, fly to Moscow, sit down in front of Putin and say, what do we need to do to end this?
Thanks, Bill. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, I feel it's bad for the Ukrainian people, but think about it this way. If things are so rotten there and everything, and they got means to get here, how come we don't see this massive influx of asylum seekers from Ukraine? We see it from all over the world, from China, from South Africa, but not from Ukraine. Is it because maybe they don't fit the narrative?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for the call. There actually are a significant number of Ukrainian refugees. I think there was something like more than 500,000 Ukrainian men have fled the country lest they be conscripted.
Right.
So that's happening. It's just different because the network is such, as we've talked about this actually before, is that, for example, in Chicago, where you have a sizable Ukrainian population, the refugees are connected to Ukrainians in places like Chicago and taken in by, their countrymen or former countrymen.
Yeah, we have 30,000 in Chicago, guys.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So it is happening. It's happening in a way that is consistent with American law in terms of fleeing persecution and legitimate claims of asylum, as opposed to all of the illegitimate claims of asylum, whether it's economic migrants or people who intend to do America harm. So it is different, but it's also happening. All right, coming up at 6:06, we'll stay on this, but from a different angle. We'll hear from Tucker Carlson, who gave his first interview after the Putin interview. He was at a summit of the world governments in Dubai, and he had some things to say about our government and a little compare and contrast of major cities in places like Russia to major cities in places like America. That's 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom, and here is Mike Scott.
Former Madigan insider Tim Mapes gets 2.5 years. Another Chicago Democrat sentenced after a federal fraud trial. Chicago police conducting a death investigation in Rogers Park. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson fighting back against critics, and the search continues for a missing Huntley woman. The Bulls winners in Atlanta last night. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
The ayes have it. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Just a few minutes ago, the Senate approved a security bill, $95 billion worth of military aid to some of our allies like Israel and Taiwan. About 2/3 of it would go to Ukraine. Some Republicans joined Democrats supporting that, but others did not, speaking out all night against it on the Senate floor. And GOP Senator Rick Scott tells Fox,
without a secure border, give me a break. I'm not doing that. There's drugs, terrorists, criminals, narco-traffickers coming into our country in droves. And this has got to stop.
Now, it's not clear if that bill will pass the House because Speaker Mike Johnson is also critical it does not include border security like the bill the Senate first considered.
And that blew up last week. And so some Democrats are saying, we don't know what you're for because you asked for border security. Again, we can argue the merits or demerits of that bill, but they provided that. And now Republicans are saying, there's no border security on this. So we don't think it's going to come up in the House right away.
That's Fox's Chad Pergram on Fox and Friends just a few minutes ago. Now, tonight, the House plans to try again to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, blaming him for record illegal immigration, saying he's not following the law. Republicans fell one vote short of impeachment last week. Democrats call it a sham. Now, the polls are open in a special election in New York to fill a vacant House seat.
We may know later tonight if Republican Mazi Pilip or Democrat Tom Suozzi will be the one to fill the 3rd Congressional District seat Republican George Santos was expelled from last year. Suozzi gave up the 3rd District seat in 2022 to run for New York governor. Pilip is a legislator in Nassau County who is in her second 2-year term.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. But going to vote today there isn't easy. There's a winter storm hitting the New York area up to New England. Some areas could get a foot, and it's also canceled more than 1,000 flights, a lot of them to and from Boston and New York City. America's listening to
6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Right now, clear skies and 30 degrees. Federal judge in Chicago sentenced a former chief of staff to longtime Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan to 2.5 years in prison for lying under oath to a grand jury to protect his once powerful Democrat boss. Republicans have long pushed for ethics reforms at the Illinois State House. Last week, House Minority Leader Tony McCombie said that includes how politicians charged with crimes can use campaign money.
Well, I think the first one is that we shouldn't be able to spend campaign dollars for our legal fees. That certainly would be one.
Mike Madigan, whose trial has been postponed to October, has already spent $8.4 million from his campaign funds on legal fees. Former state legislator Anjanette Collins was convicted Monday on 4 of 6 tax-related charges. Her attorney told reporters they did not agree with the verdict, and they're likely appealing. Chicago police are investigating in Rogers Park, where human remains were discovered Monday. Family members came to start cleaning out a home after the death of an elderly man in the 2800 block of West Fitch. Family of the man shot and killed by Carroll Stream police viewed the body camera footage, or part of it, from the officers involved in the shooting, and now is demanding that it be released to the public, making claims that their worst fears were confirmed.
The video is horrific. They lied. What they did was unjustified. They went in there and they shot my brother in his sleep.
Last week, Isaac Goodlow's family revealed he may have been bipolar and suffering from a mental health episode. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and allies, who've been sharply criticized around the country for fumbling the migrant crisis and bad messaging, are pushing back hard, but only through friendly media. Johnson also spoke to seniors on Monday and ticked off what he called accomplishments.
When I announced my candidacy over a year ago, I said we were going to eliminate sub-minimum wage. We did that. I said we're going to pass paid time off. We did that. I said we're going to invest more in youth employment. We've done that. I said we're committed to hiring more detectives. We're doing that.
Those words were used by a shadowy PAC in a full-page ad in the Chicago Sun-Times over the weekend. Chicago sports. DeMar DeRozan and Ayo Dosunmu combined for 58 to lead the Bulls to a win over Atlanta, 136-126. Bulls have won 3 of 4. Cleveland is next. Hawks back on the ice facing Vancouver tonight at the UC. The news, a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees strategic maneuvers on the border bill.
McConnell is now, he heard and saw the backlash, or at least his staff did. It was so overwhelming. And it wasn't just us, on television, op-eds, even center-right voices. So don't be surprised if Senate Republicans volley back a much more aggressive border bill that will just die and say that it was the Democrats' fault.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. Changing the world one life at a time.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm here in San Diego. I mean, I surf, I'm active, I'm an ex-college athlete. Well, I decided, I'm going to try that Balance of Nature. Let's just see what happens. Like after about a month and a half, man, what a difference. That sold me right there. That's when I was like, this stuff's working, so I'm going to stick with it. And so I've been sticking with it ever since. And it's definitely helped, and I definitely feel good. Seems like to be the real deal.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
After years of discomfort, it's like I'm alive again.
Sonia Hackett talks about how QC Kinetics changed her life.
QC Kinetics has given me my quality of life back.
Before QC Kinetics, Sonia suffered from horrible knee and back pain stemming from a car accident.
I was wearing knee braces just to try to maneuver around.
Sonia hated the idea of pain meds, and surgery seemed too risky. So she turned to the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, the leaders in advanced regenerative medicine.
That consultation just changed my life. I can do the treadmill, everything. I don't have anything holding me back. The quality of life is pain-free. QC Kinetics has made us very happy.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today.
I'm going to get emotional again. They are like family members to me. They care.
Call QC Kinetics now.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This morning in the Eden Green neighborhood, Indiana Avenue and 103rd, a SWAT barricade situation remains in effect. And police are also continuing to gather around Barrington Road and Route 68. Police activity there. Police are searching for someone that stole a tractor trailer in South Barrington this morning. We're watching on the Indiana Toll Road, a semi-fire blazing. 2 right lanes are blocked. Westbound I-90 between Klein, that's the Hammond exit, exit 3, and Wolf Lake. Tri-State, report of an accident, left lane blocked early this morning. Northbound between 47th to past Ogden Avenue is your delay. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Periods of clouds and some sunshine today. The high at 41. Partly cloudy tonight, low 29. Clouds and breaks of sun. Mild day tomorrow. The high 47. Rain or snow shower in the area on Thursday morning. Otherwise a cloudy day. The high 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Clear in 34 at O'Hare. 37 along the lakefront. Your next news update 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy and KJP, White House spokeshuman, back on the job on yesterday, on damage control duty with the rest of the Biden flacks that we saw over the weekend, including Jill, his wife, the big guy's wife. It's all hands on deck for damage control duty, and you've got sort of a progression of angles to the damage control, which are fun. You've got the...
Which one do you like best?
Well, my favorite fairy tale is that Biden is this towering intellect, but only behind closed doors.
But that Mayorkas can't keep up, man. Intellectually, physically, it sounds like, he's got this. He's on it.
This alone is a reason to impeach Ali Mayorkas.
About a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Yeah. I think Mayorkas is probing something, Biden's backside.
Hey-o.
But that's just the way it goes. So that's the favorite fairy tale, towering intellect, deep into the policy minutia, this dizzying strategic thinker. That's good. I like that. I like the conspiracy theory that the Merrick Garland appointed special prosecutor Robert Hur is a Trump stooge. I like that one.
Okay.
And then, of course, I like the misdirection play. That's my favorite misdirection play, is saying something that is observably true is gratuitous. You heard that a lot this weekend as well. This is another example.
Okay.
This isn't necessarily towering intellect, but he's just so active. Biden is like that old campaign for the United States Army, that old recruitment campaign. He gets more done by 9 a.m. than you get done all day.
Thanks, Karine. A new ABC News Ipsos poll shows that 86% of Americans think Biden is too old to serve another term. That is a higher percentage than what we found in a previous poll in September. So clearly polling shows this is a persistent issue. What is the White House strategy to try and change that perception?
So look, we're going to continue to lead on leadership, right? We're going to continue to focus on what this president has been able to get done, what the president has been able to get done on behalf of the American people. And look, I'll quote a little bit of what the First Lady said, I think incredibly well, just a couple days ago. President Biden does more in 1 hour than most people do in a day. His age with experience and expertise is an incredible asset, and he proves it every day. And that's what we believe. We believe that his age and his experience, because he was a senator, because he was obviously vice president, because he has these long decades of relationships with leaders, obviously across the globe, and what he's been able to do, that's what we're going to lean into. That's what we're going to speak to.
Yeah. That statement is based in reality, but the Robert Hur report is not based in reality. Okay. And no, I mean, I agree. You have to lead with leadership. If you can't lead with leadership, what can you lead with?
She sounded like Kamala Harris. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
So this was sort of the jumping off point in the one-on-one interview that Tucker Carlson gave in Dubai at the World Government Summit. His first discussion of the Putin interview that posted on Thursday night. We talked about last couple shows. And, you immediately draw the comparison, as many have, between what you saw on Thursday night in the Tucker interview from Putin and what you're seeing from our president, the guy who's supposed to outmaneuver Putin, among others. And Tucker Carlson, so he got into that a bit, in addition to sort of restating what he said in the preview to the Putin interview, which is about the Biden administration trying to prevent this interview from happening. Take a listen.
I'll start in reverse order. Why now? Well, I've been trying for 3 years to do this interview. The U.S. government prevented me from doing it by spying on my text messages and leaking them to the New York Times. And that spooked the Russian government into canceling the interview. So I've been trying to do this, but my country's intel services were working against me illegally, and that enraged me because I'm an American citizen. I'm 54, I pay my taxes, I obey the law. And there was no expectation in the America that I grew up in that my government and its intel services, NSA and CIA, which were always outwardly focused on our foreign enemies, would be turned inward against American citizens. And I'm shocked by that, and I'm infuriated by that. And so once I discovered that that was happening, and I confirmed it was happening, and they admitted that they did it, then I was totally determined, monomaniacally dedicated to doing this interview, not simply because I want to know what Vladimir Putin is like and what he thinks about a war that is resetting the world and really gravely damaging my country's economy, but also because they told me I couldn't on the basis of illegitimate means and for no really clearly stated justification. And I thought that can't stand. I want to live in a free country. I was born in one. And I'm going to do whatever small thing I can do to maintain, the society that I love.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. It's just another reminder, and an important one. The Joe Obama administrations, the first two and this third one, they're not huge fans / defenders of Americans' First Amendment rights, including, ironically, the press.
Well, remember Biden administration? They were spying on James Rosen.
Obama
worked at Fox News. Yeah, Obama did.
Yeah,
the same
right.
administration, Joe Obama.
Eric Holder, who you have to listen to offer these encomiums on MSNBC and so forth about our democracy. Another one of the great vanguards of our democracy, Eric Holder, just like Obama, just like Biden. And they love to illegally spy on the press. They love to illegally enlist third parties to censor Americans, abridgments of individual Americans' First Amendment rights, members of the press, their First Amendment rights. Not a small thing. So it's good that Tucker brought it out and restated it. And I'm glad he did get the interview. And I'm glad he's calling out the intel community. This just as I'm just as glad that left-wing journalists like Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger have been enlisted by Elon Musk, and in addition, they're doing their own stuff in doing the reporting, the actual journalism surrounding the Twitter files and these alliances of governments and academic institutions and nonprofits and third-party cutouts like NewsGuard to censor Americans previously, to censor Americans prospectively, to do, again, illegally on behalf of the government what the government can't or won't do, illegally in a transparent way themselves. They don't want their fingerprints on it. But, of course, per the Twitter files, their fingerprints are all over it. And the cyber threat intelligence agents, all of these other stand-ups from the authoritarian left that we've discussed. George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, with regard to Biden, I think he is a stunning example of old man strength.
Yeah, the brute strength, yeah.
I mean, he's so hip now. He's, campaigning on TikTok, even though it's banned on government sites. He's so cool. He's got so much energy. He's reaching out to the young people.
Yeah. It's a catastrophe is what it is. And, again, it's just observably true. But you're not supposed to say it out loud. To do that is to be gratuitous, as we talked about yesterday. So per the question you just heard put to KJP. So 3/4 to 4/5 of the American electorate is gratuitous because they believe the same thing that has been stated about Biden's mental fitness for the job, which is to say they have grave concerns to the extent they have any willingness to believe he's capable of a second term. Tucker Carlson went on to talk a little bit more about his experience during his time in Russia, Moscow in particular. This was an interesting riff. Take a listen.
And it's wildly diverse, linguistically, culturally, religiously. It's hard to run a country like that for 24 years, whether you like it or not. So an incapable person couldn't do that. He is very capable, and many of you know him, and you know that. What was radicalizing, very shocking and very disturbing for me was the city of Moscow, where I'd never been, the biggest city in Europe, 13 million people. And it is so much nicer than any city in my country. I had no idea. My father spent a lot of time there in the 80s when he worked for the US government and barely had electricity. And now it is so much cleaner and safer and prettier aesthetically. Its architecture, its food, its service, than any country, city in the United States that you have to, and this is non-ideological. How did that happen? How did that happen? And at a certain point, I don't think the average person cares as much about abstractions as about the concrete reality of his life. And if you can't use your subway, for example, as many people are afraid to in New York City because it's too dangerous, you have to sort of wonder, isn't that the ultimate measure of leadership? And that's true, by the way, it's radicalizing for an American to go to Moscow, I didn't know that, I've learned it this week, to Singapore, to Tokyo, to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Because these cities, no matter how we're told they're run and on what principles they're run, are wonderful places to live that don't have rampant inflation, where you're not going to get raped.
Sir, excuse me.
What is that?
Excuse me. Are you anti-American model?
No. I am the most pro-American. So I'm 54. I was born in 1969. I grew up in a country that had cities like Moscow and Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Singapore and Tokyo. And we no longer have them. And what I have discovered is that's a voluntary choice.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I mean, I heard that interview when I was in Luxembourg, and I thought, he is so right. I mean, we don't feel safe using our subway systems, our public transportation, because you could get robbed or killed.
Well, that comment was prescient, as 5 people were shot and 1 were killed in the subway in New York yesterday, right?
Yep.
I mean, so there's certainly something to what's happening to our major urban centers, which is they're disintegrating, no question.
And there's garbage everywhere, and there's not garbage in European countries.
I mean, I would take exception to Tucker's characterization of Putin and even Singapore and Tokyo. I mean, yes, people ultimately care about the reality of the place in which they live, not so much philosophical abstractions. But the reality of the place in which you live is more complicated than just the cleanliness of the streets. And so, I mean, Putin is an autocrat. So the ends don't justify the means. And the wrongful imprisonment of foreign national as well as his own citizens. I mean, he's a repressive, tyrannical figure. And, you know, and there's sort of soft authoritarianism in those other countries he mentioned. Also, Tokyo is sort of an outlier, in part because of Japanese culture, in part because of the homogeneity of the population. So it's hard to do exact comparisons. So, I mean, I take his overall point, but, I mean, let's be a little bit more fulsome in our description of these comparisons, because now I'm not for martial law if the streets are clean. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And let's just be clear about that. But in terms of what he's pointing to, the choice that we have made in this country to self-immolate in major centers, major urban centers, there's no question it's a choice. There's no question that the residents of American citizens who reside in places like Chicago and San Francisco and New Orleans and Memphis and Baltimore and Philadelphia, go on and on and on. Basically, you know, most metropolitan areas with more than 300,000 in population, the choice that the American citizens, the residents of those cities have made is to disintegrate their community. That's what the majority has decided. And it's manifested in the leadership they've chosen and the policies that come with that leadership. We know this all too well in Chicago, don't we? That is a choice. Absolutely right about that.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also reach us on our text line, fired up and ready to go, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Chuck in Delavan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I do more in one day than he does in a month. A month ago, I filled out a Freedom of Information Act to find out how much the guy that changes Joe's diapers and how much the contractor charged to install all the koala stations throughout the White House. And I've got no response back yet. So,
Jill,
anyway,
I did it again. Yeah.
Doctor,
they don't follow Freedom of Information rules.
Koala stations.
Oh my God, that's
Thanks
funny.
for the call, Chuck. Chuck does more than in one day than Biden does all month, and he doesn't soil himself.
Exactly.
Chuck for president.
But I just think it's so frustrating because the media keeps focusing on his age, but it's not about his age; it's his mental capacity and lack of.
No
it.
question. No
Getting
question.
the wrong president of France.
No question. We had Bob Woodson on.
Our enemies are laughing at us and our allies.
We had Bob Woodson on the show on Friday. He's 86 years old. He could be president tomorrow. I mean,
You're darn right,
he's that sharp. Christopher Walken, I don't know, it was a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl for BMW, but he looks sharp enough to me to be president. You're right. It's not about age. It's about mental acuity, and he doesn't have it. Nope. Which, again, is something that has been known for a long time. But now that Robert Hirsch said it out loud, everybody has to deal with, and thus you've got the full-on damage control duty. Marty in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Two things. One real quick. Yesterday I heard, Dan, you got a Lonely Hearts Club band thing going for Valentine's Day. Where do they get one of them T-shirts from? And second of all, I like Tucker, but for everything he's saying, there's not 20 million refugees trying to break into the Soviet Union, let alone Moscow itself. So
that's true. That's exactly right. Thanks for the call, Marty. That's right. There's a reason for that. Bob, Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Bonjour, Amy. Question for you. When are we going to see the media? They're just starting to change their tone with regards to Biden. And, of course, the youth have changed their support for Biden. So maybe Frank can weigh in from Arlington Heights, some history in '68 when the media and the youth turned on Johnson. And then in '74 when the Republicans finally turned on Nixon to get him out. So when are some of the really big Democratic leaders going to say Biden is a loser and we got to get somebody new?
They're not. Thanks for the call, Bob. They're not.
Well,
not certainly not
Costas
at the
tried
stage.
to say that.
Well, Bob Costas isn't a party leader. They're not. I mean, you saw the full-on damage control duty, and you're going to see that from now until it becomes untenable. What does becoming untenable look like? I don't know. It's going to have to be. It seems to me it's going to have to be a health event, not just the deterioration that's happening on a daily basis, but it's going to have to be an actual event. And I'm not rooting for it. I'm just describing what would be required because they're not going anywhere.
Well, Kamala Harris said she's ready to go if that happens too, Dan.
Yeah, she's going full Al Haig, or she's close to going full Al Haig here. There's no question about it. But people keep forgetting, and I don't know why. Well, Biden's not in charge, but he is in charge of this decision: stay or go. He is the most powerful man in the Western world, really, in the entire world, arguably. Whether he has the capacity to judiciously wield that power or not. And after 50 years, you think he's just going to shuffle away? He's not. No. And he has every incentive beyond that to stay because of all that circling around him and his family.
And he's too senile to stand trial, but fine to run the country.
Bill, Cape Coral, Florida.
Yeah, earlier you said you don't want to turn into be the Gestapo police for clean streets. But think about it. In the 50s, you threw paper out your car window, you'd be pulled over by the police. It's called littering. Yeah. And when was the last time someone wrote a ticket for littering? So here's what they do. You can't follow the rules, we'll change them. You can't follow, you could travel now in basketball. You can change the rules. Yep. You can, no license plates now. They just said you can drive a car with no license plates. We can't pull you over. So when certain part of society cannot obey the rules, society changes the rules to appease them. That's the problem.
Yeah, it would. Yes, right. I mean, this is right. Forget littering. How about retail theft?
Right.
I mean, just for starters. I mean, I get it, but my point is to say that is not tickets for littering. I'm fine with that, but this is not the same thing as to suggest what Putin does, or Mussolini. He made the trains run on time. Well, that's not an endorsement of Mussolini's leadership, is it? That's my point. Simple as that. John Mearsheimer, the University of Chicago professor, he weighed in on Tucker's interview, given all the hue and cry from the usual places, the people that don't have anything to offer other than invective, the pejorative Putin stooge. John Mearsheimer, University of Chicago, is on with Judge Napolitano on his podcast, and he had this to say about Tucker's interview of Putin.
Well, it's typical of the way the foreign policy establishment, and this, of course, includes Hillary Clinton, deals with people who disagree with them. Instead of dealing with the substance of the dispute, what they do is engage in name-calling. He's a useful idiot. He's Putin's puppet. He's not very smart, so forth and so on. Remember what Hillary said about Donald Trump's supporters. She said that they're deplorables. This is a remarkably foolish thing to say. And you basically see the same line of attack at play here. Look, you don't have to agree with Putin, and you don't have to agree with Tucker Carlson. Vladimir Putin is a world historical figure. He matters greatly to the United States. He has a particular view of the world. He has a particular view of the Ukraine conflict. He has a particular view of the Biden administration in the United States. Wouldn't it be a good thing to hear what he is thinking about all of those matters? I think it would be a good thing to hear. Tucker Carlson, whether you like him or not, is a very smart man. He is basically sympathetic to Putin. He's not antagonistic. And I think what that means is that he will give Putin a chance to develop his arguments in a sophisticated way. People can agree or disagree. But the problem is that this is not the way we operate in the United States these days. There's just so much Russophobia and so much hysteria about Putin that the mere thought of Tucker Carlson interviewing Vladimir Putin drives lots of people crazy, and it causes them to act in foolish ways. And that's what you got with Hillary Clinton.
And it's about what I said prior to Tucker's interview of Putin and subsequent to it. And I mean, the thing that Mearsheimer points out, a quick illustration of it. Remember when Russia invaded Ukraine, we're banning everything Russian in this country, Russian vodka and so on and so forth. But the one thing that the left is fine with, all the people with the Ukrainian flags and their social media profiles, and that I'm not drinking Russian vodka and I'm not going to see the Bolshoi Ballet when it's in town, and I'm not, just all ridiculous, right?
Yes.
All the virtue signaling nonsense from the typical simpletons. But the one thing they have no problem with is the anti-energy independence policies of the Biden administration that subsidize Russia. And this is part of it, too. Oh, money for Ukraine, money for... So we're subsidizing the Russian energy sector while we're giving money to Ukraine. As usual, the U.S. is on both sides of this war. And it's a little tiresome. And I can see through it. And then I'm, called a Putin sympathizer if I point out the obvious. Again, you're not supposed to say things that are observably true. You're not supposed to point out obvious hypocrisy. That's, impertinent. Ridiculous. Coming up at 6:36. Guess who's coming to dinner? The remake. 6:36.
And later, was the Super Bowl rigged so the Chiefs would win? I don't know, but let's head now into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
6:34 in Chicago this morning. Two officials say Israel and Hamas are making progress toward a deal that aims to bring about a ceasefire and free some hostages held in the war-ravaged Gaza Strip. The Senate passing a $95 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan after a growing week of debate and political division over the role of the U.S. abroad. New York Senator Chuck Schumer.
If we want the world to for democratic principles, for our future prosperity, then America must lead the way.
Florida Senator Rick Scott agrees with that, but disagrees with the bill.
Do I want Israel aid? I do. Would I be okay with lethal aid? If I knew what the plan was in Ukraine, I might be. But the way it's going, without a secure border, give me a break. I'm not doing that. There's drugs, terrorists, criminals, narco-traffickers coming into our country in droves. And this has got to stop.
In other news, we're following police in Houston releasing more details on that shooter at the mega church. Early reports say the shooter, Genesee Moreno, had a history of mental illness, but it's now revealed she was involved in a dispute with her Jewish ex-husband. Authorities say she had an anti-Semitic background and stickers that read Palestine attached to the butt of her weapon. Moreno entered the church Sunday with her 7-year-old son before she was shot and killed by security officers. A nor'easter expected to clobber parts of the New England coast with heavy snow and the risk of flooding. Winter storm advisories are up for Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kentucky as well. Looking to get a rideshare on Valentine's Day? It'll be tough. Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash drivers are set to strike on Valentine's Day. They're seeking so-called fair pay. Federal judge in Chicago sentencing a former chief of staff, Tim Mapes, to 2.5 years in prison for lying under oath to a grand jury to protect his once powerful boss. Former state legislator Anjanette Collins was convicted Monday on 4 of 6 tax fraud-related charges. Her attorney told reporters they did not agree with the verdict and they would appeal. Chicago police are investigating a home in Rogers Park where human remains were discovered on Monday. And Chicago's top cop Larry Snelling is admitting to an error that he made. The superintendent recently acknowledged he mistakenly claimed at 2 public forums that police solved a majority of the murders in January. He's now acknowledged that he was wrong. Police department releasing numbers showing only 3 murders committed this year have actually been cleared. Bulls over Atlanta last night, 136-126. The Blackhawks back on the ice facing Vancouver tonight. Hawks say injured rookie Connor Bedard may be back in the lineup by next week. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager believes there are scary people among us.
I have known all my life that the battle for good is a very, very difficult battle. So this doesn't surprise me between Hamas and Israel that there are people who are neither Jew nor Muslim, and they support Hamas. These people are frightening, actually.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us, and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I like your product. Your product is great. I'm 75, and it works well for me.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old, and it's really made a difference. It feels good.
Oh, I just feel better. I can tell the difference.
I stay like a teenager because I walk 2 miles every day, me and my husband. I mean, you can't go wrong with this product, I tell you.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RADIO for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code RADIO.
641, let's get an update on the roads. A service of Robert Half. Robert Half research indicates 9 of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. RobertHalf.com. Today, if you're traveling in South Barrington Road, north of Route 68, got police activity there. They're searching for a stolen tractor trailer. In Chicago's Eden Green neighborhood, far south side, Indiana and 133rd, there's a SWAT barricade situation at an apartment complex. It's been active since around 1 a.m. and police are on the scene. Indiana Toll Road, vehicle fire cleared westbound near Klein Avenue. Tri-State, due to an earlier accident northbound, you're jammed up Plainfield to pass Ogden, Bishop Ford and I-57 jamming into the Ryan merge. The Ryan 20 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, clouds and sunshine, and a high of 41. Currently clear and 34. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Oh, goodness.
Oh, no, what?
You have got to see what Joe Biden posted, or, some intern posted for him to his Twitter account yesterday. And I'm sure to his TikTok account. He's got one of those now, too, even though it's a national security threat.
Right. It's banned on government sites. But he's going to campaign with it because he's got to reach the young people, Dan.
He happened to be in the neighborhood, and so he decided to stop in and see his good buddies, Christian and Carter, and have a meal with their dad. The worst idea for a remake of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner ever. Apologies to Sidney Poitier, to Spencer Tracy, to Katharine Hepburn. You've got to see this just because it is so comically painful to watch.
Well, I mean, you got chicken fingers, you got chicken fingers. I went the route of making sure I had the hamburger. So tell me about you guys. What you doing these days?
Why don't you share about your passion in sports?
I'm playing AAU basketball right now.
Are you really? Are you guard?
Yes, sir.
Now, what grade are you in?
7th grade.
7th grade.
Right now, I'm just doing basketball, playing guard on the JV team for my school.
How about in school? How y'all doing in school? You should tell the president about the school.
Favorite thing about it is the business academy I'm in. You get to travel, so we've been to NC State, Wake Tech, and
You're kidding me.
Yeah, we went to this small dry cleaning business. And it's cool. It's a great experience.
I'm impressed. Is that a new program at the school?
Yes, sir, it is. It just started just a couple of years ago.
You know how much this guy loves you. You just feel it, can't you?
Yes, sir.
Your dad jumped in front of a bull for you. By the way, we dads are hard to raise. Once you're a teenager, we're hard to raise. So you gotta be patient with us, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
A little patient.
Where to start? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. When I saw that, I thought, okay, he's bringing in carry-out fried chicken. He's such a try-hard. I mean, this is so beneath the office of the presidency.
I hope Christian and Carter got an appropriate amount of NIL money to participate in this little sketch that he's doing. I mean, it is really something to behold. I was waiting for one of them to say, Dad, can we just take in a migrant family instead of the president?
Like they're doing in Massachusetts, right? Better get those beds ready. They're coming.
His good friends, Christian and Carter, so what are you up to these days, fellas? I mean, it is an act of desperation is what it is. I mean, it's just the most really patronizing.
I'd be so...
It's just insulting, but I suppose there are some on the left that cannot be insulted, or they're willing to be insulted for a price. It's really, I don't know who around him thinks this is going to move the needle in a positive direction, these sorts of videos, but wow. Take a look at it. I tweeted it out at Dan Prof. Take a look at it and make your own determination. I've got perhaps an even worse remake than Joe Biden starring in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. You ready for this one?
Okay, I'm ready.
Same race hustle.
All right.
Different cast. Different remake. This is the worst idea for a remake of The Color of Money ever. The Color of Money, featuring Al Sharpton and Benjamin Crump.
Oh, boy.
I guess Al is Paul Newman and Crump is Tom Cruise.
Guy that lost his life. Yeah, and then George Floyd was trying to get rid of all the crime in America overnight, just like that. And people ask how Attorney Crump change the definition of crime. Of course. If you get to define what conduct is going to be made criminal, you can predict who the criminal is going to be.
It sounds like we're criminal, though.
Yeah.
Our existence is
the culture.
criminal.
But they made the laws. They make the law to criminalize our culture,
To fit us.
black culture. I mean, and so when I think of Eric Garner, I always think of stuff like that. Lucy cigarettes.
Guy lost his life.
Yeah, and then George Floyd was trying to buy cigarettes and so forth. So you have to think about the profiling things that they come up with, the profilers for pretextual reasons. And it happens every day, y'all. They will come and say, you can't wear baggy pants.
Right.
Make that a crime.
Right.
You can't have milk cartons in your yard.
Right.
Make that a crime.
Right.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Again, these are only snippets, previews. We don't have the full bootleg copies of these remakes, but which did you enjoy more? The Guess Who's Coming to Dinner remake with Joe Biden or the Color of Money remake with Al Sharpton and Benjamin Crump? The theme or the takeaway, the moral of that story is criminalizing the black culture. That's what an unnamed they do.
Yeah, and who's the they? Got a lot of text messages. Dan and Amy, did President Biden let those young boys rub the blonde hair on his legs like Corn Pop used to?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Remember at the pool when he was a lifeguard?
Yeah.
And the black
sure,
people, they're so fascinated. I'd let him play with the hair on my legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's what it's going to be. I mean, he's really cast his ongoing aspirations with the identitarians. So it will be the most base sort of race and other identitarian appeals from now until November. Get ready for it. By the way, just as a quick aside,
yes,
since somebody else, when you think of patronizing and empty-headed, you think of Joe Biden, sure, but you also think of his running mate and the president-in-waiting, Kamala Harris. We have Sean Farash is the sort of official Trump impersonator. He does the best job. We played her before, but she's got a new one, and I just figured since we're doing these vignettes, Elsa Kurt is the best Kamala impersonator out there, and well, without further ado,
we are here today at this prestigious
insert location
to talk with people. Okay, people in uniform, people in suits, people in t-shirts, people in dresses, and all of these people are here today together, okay? Because we want to be unburdened by the things that have burdened us in the past and in the present and perhaps even in the future. And as I look around, I see the sun is shining and I see that there are trees over there and there is ground beneath us and I have hands and they are clapping and I am laughing. Thank you. Thank you.
I would put young Christian and Carter on notice that Kamala Harris is going to be knocking on their door to do a video.
Yeah, she's
like
going to
they
bring
did
dessert.
Yeah, after she smokes a blunt with Charlemagne the God, and I mean the whole thing. You're going to get, and then she's going to play pool with Sharpton and Crump.
Yeah,
there'll be more of this. By the way, did you ever notice? I didn't really notice this until listening to Elsa Kurt's impersonation of Kamala, but that "okay."
Yeah.
I wonder if Kamala ripped that from South Park. You know, Mr. Mackey?
I'm here to tell you about drugs and alcohol and why they're bad, okay? So, first of all, smoking's bad. You shouldn't smoke. And alcohol is bad. You shouldn't drink alcohol. And as for drugs, well, drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs, okay?
Okay. And he also sort of has the same wonderful observations about the human condition that Kamala has. I see trees and the sun. I have hands and they're clapping. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed, inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
Imagine what your future looks like. Is the picture a little blurry? Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Alpha Wealth Group. When we look ahead, we're visualizing where we want to be, and for retirement, that can be hard without a written financial plan. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help you bring your retirement picture into focus. For decades, Tom has been crafting customized financial strategies. His goal is to help you protect your savings, grow your wealth, and create an income strategy you cannot outlive. If you're nearing or already in retirement, it's time to get your plan on paper. So bring your readers and let's take a look at it closely. Call Tom at 630-934-1855 and schedule a complimentary retirement consultation. There is no cost, there is no obligation. This is a chance to get a clearer view of your retirement. The number again is 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
In the midst of finishing up a so-so 2023, Bob wondered where the sales were. He lost 2 long-term clients, and his back-end operations were slowing down production. His family business had always been successful, but now their outdated processes were holding back the growth. Bob knew he needed to embrace technology and upgrade their systems. He never thought he'd be stuck in the Stone Age. That's when he discovered Turnkey, who helped bring his business current. Now, Bob has a new e-commerce capability, a cutting-edge marketing plan, and a real growth strategy. With Turnkey's help, he's developed a new vision for what's possible, a plan for the future, and a small business partner to help him get things done.
If you need a partner to help you with a fresh perspective for 2024, or if you feel like you're falling behind, Turnkey believes that every business has the opportunity to stay current and competitive. Turnkey is here to provide you with the solutions, guidance, and support that you need to conquer your business and IT challenges. Start a conversation today. Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you. It really works.
I'm just really pleased with your product. I've been using it now for 3 years.
I've been taking it for a while now. I feel better. I live on the balance of nature. I plan on taking it forever.
I've been a very happy customer. I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with history teacher Frank from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history we don't know. Take it away, Frank.
Good morning.
As we approach St. Valentine's Day, we should pause to reflect on the status of our romantic relationships. Actually, those require way too much work. Forget that. Let's learn today about the lives of monks instead. Now, the name on my confirmation stole was Anthony, but it wasn't until decades later that I found out that the very stout St. Anthony the Great lived to the ripe old age of 105 as an ascetic monk in the deserts of Egypt and is considered the founder of organized Christian monasticism. Of course, in the 7th grade, I really had no idea which St. Anthony I had in my stole. It was more likely St. Anthony of Padua, a Cenobitic Franciscan monk who lived from 1195 to 1231 and preached and served the poor in Italy. He followed more in the tradition established by the twins, Saints Benedict and Saint Scholastica, who lived in the 520s and established the monastery of Monte Cassino. Strict rules were enforced here, as the certainty provided by the monastic life in the impoverished Dark Ages attracted way too many who abused the monasteries as mere flop houses. The twins were quite successful in changing this. But if I had to be confirmed today, no doubt I'd choose the Orthodox Saint Simeon Stylites of Anatolia. I have a certain admiration for this man who, in the early 400s, started the extreme practice of living on top of a platform, on top of an old Greek column, and preaching to passersby. Legend has it that he stayed up there for 37 years. His life was rather odd. He must have needed many buckets, but he had quite a view, and neither did he have to stare into the postmodern secular abyss like we do every day.
Just like rooftop pastor Corey Brooks.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe he's got a 30 years to go. Maybe he could get canonized as well. I thought you might go on Valentine's Day. I thought you might go with a treatise on Saint Valentine, but who was martyred by Claudius II, so that fits in with your. But I appreciate the monks, a little bit of the historical thumbnail on the monks. Pretty good, Frank.
Yeah,
all right.
Corey is a stylitic monk.
And Frank, I'm going to be contacting you about an idea. I have an idea for you after visiting France.
To a certain extent, you are too, Dan. You have your platform.
Yep.
You're kind of a stylitic monk.
And so many
passersby.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been called worse. All right, coming up at 7:07, Brendan O'Neill from Spiked Online.
Today, plenty of sunshine, a high of 40 degrees at 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
They were up all night in the Senate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, where some Republicans spoke out all night against a security bill providing billions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. But in the end, it passed about an hour ago. Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says
the Senate declares that American leadership will not waver, will not falter, will not fail.
Right after the vote, Ukraine's president posted on X he's grateful, writing U.S. assistance helps save lives from Russian terror, but that bill may not pass the House. Many Republicans say the focus should be on border security. And tonight, the House plans to try again to impeach the head of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, blaming him for record illegal immigration. GOP Congressman Tony Gonzalez tells Fox,
we have to put a stop to it. We have to hold people accountable.
They fell one vote short last week. Democrats call it a sham that Mayorkas has also committed no crimes. It's Election Day in New York's 3rd Congressional District, replacing George Santos, who was expelled from the House. Republican Mazi Pilip is facing Democrat Tom Suozzi, who's trying to return to that House seat. She tells Fox,
he created this mess, the border crisis. He opened the border. And as a result, we are facing a border crisis.
Suozzi calls himself a centrist who supports bipartisan immigration solutions. But a storm could affect turnout there. It's also grounding planes. More than 1,000 flights are canceled because of all the snow. Former President Trump wants the Supreme Court to consider another case, filing a challenge to an appeals court ruling
from last week that he, a former president, is not immune from prosecution over his alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Now, Trump's Washington, D.C. trial was initially set for March 4th. If the justices issue a stay, expect the trial to be pushed back several months.
Fox's David Spun, the former president, was in court in Florida for a hearing also on the Trump classified documents case. America's listening to Fox News.
30 degrees, skies are clear, sunrise in Chicago at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. A federal judge in Chicago sentencing a former chief of staff to longtime Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan to 2.5 years in prison for lying under oath to a grand jury to protect his once powerful boss. Republicans have long pushed for ethics reforms at the Illinois State House. Among reforms Republicans say are now needed include giving the legislative inspector general more independence to investigate wrongdoing faster.
Expanding the authority of the legislative inspector general is huge. Giving the inspector general the authority to subpoena without approval of the Legislative Ethics Commission.
State Representative Noreen Hammond of Macomb, Madigan, whose trial has been postponed from April to October, has spent $8.4 million from his campaign fund on legal fees. That is another ethics reform that Republicans are urging in Springfield. Chicago police are investigating a home in Rogers Park where human remains were discovered on Monday morning. The family of a man shot and killed by Carroll Stream police has viewed the body camera footage from the officers involved in the shooting and is demanding that it be released to the public.
The video is horrific. They lied. What they did was unjustified. They went in there and they shot my brother in his sleep.
The Village says body cam footage will be made public once the DuPage Public Integrity Unit and the state's attorney's office determine that doing so will not negatively impact their own investigation. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and allies who've been sharply criticized around the country for their fumbling of the migrant crisis and bad messaging are pushing back, but only through friendly media. Johnson also spoke to seniors Monday and ticked off what he called accomplishments, something a shadowy PAC also did in a full-page ad in the Chicago Sun-Times over the weekend.
When I announced my candidacy over a year ago, I said we were going to eliminate subminimum wage. We did that. I said we're going to pass paid time off. We did that. I said we're going to invest more in youth employment. We've done that. I said we're committed to hiring more detectives. We're doing that.
And a woman was seriously injured on Monday afternoon after fire broke out at a senior living facility in Tinley Park. According to the village manager, the fire broke out in one unit at that facility, but two other units were deemed uninhabitable due to water damage. Bulls beat Atlanta last night, 136-126. Bulls take on Cleveland next. Hawks back on the ice facing Vancouver tonight. The news service of Chicago Gaelic Park House Raffle. Enter to win a brand new home or a $450,000 cash prize. $100 per ticket. Drawing held March 24. Visit ChicagoGaelicParkHouseRaffle.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is sure Biden isn't the nominee.
We are in big, big trouble. The man is, and I'm sorry, it's unfortunate. It happens. I respect our seniors. I want Biden to live to be 100. He doesn't have 4 years in him, and you know it. What's this guy going to be like in 2026, 2027? He's not going to be the nominee.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Be sure to schedule your health assessment with my friends at Low T Center. They offer the convenience of physician-monitored, self-inject, at-home testosterone treatments with an average payment of $150 a month cash pay, including labs and medication. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy shipping treatments directly to you. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. That's Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
A lot of times people don't understand what a supplement is. A supplement is in addition to your regular foods. It's really just an incredible formula, and I've been doing nutrients for 43 years. It has a tremendous effect on how I feel, my well-being. I love the way it gives me all my supplements for fruits and vegetables, which I take a lot of anyway. But I find that this gives me that supplement that I was missing before.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Eden's right now 17 Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at 34 and climbing from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. On the Ike, 45 from 390 into the old post office. The Bishop Ford and I-57 both jamming into the Ryan merge. The Ryan 21 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State accident left shoulder northbound 294 between 75th and Ogden. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sunshine today, a high of 41. At 7:09, it's time to call Permaseal 800-421-SCAL, and time to check our temperatures. 34 O'Hare, 34 Midway, 27 Aurora, 33 in Kankakee, 37 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 7:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There is much to discuss with our next guest, Brendan O'Neill from Spiked Online, but I feel compelled to start with this exchange. A Scottish gentleman confronting British PM Rishi Sunak at a GBN-sponsored candidate forum or prime minister forum, for lack of a better description. Yeah. So taking questions from the audience. Because I can't recall a COVIDian policymaker confronted by someone who had an adverse reaction to the vaccine like this exchange. So it's worth hearing and discussing what's going on in the UK, as it may inform what the possibilities are in the U.S. Take a listen.
Hi, Rishi Sunak. I've got so much to say, but such little time. My name is John Watt, and I'm one of the COVID vaccine injured in this country. I want you to look into my eyes, Rishi Sunak, and I want you to look at the pain, the trauma, and the regret I have in my eyes. We have been left with no help at all. Not only am I in here that's vaccine injured, there's another man over there whose life's been ruined by that COVID-19 vaccine. I know people who have lost legs, amputations. I know people with heart conditions like myself, Rishi Sunak. Why have I had to set up a support group in Scotland to look after the people that have been affected by that COVID-19 vaccine? Why are the people who are in charge, who told us all to do the right thing, have left us all to rot and left me and the thousands and the tens of thousands in this country to rot? Rishi Sunak, look me in the eye. When are you going to start to do the right thing? The vaccine damage payment scheme is not fit for purpose. In Scotland right now, according to the yellow card system, there are over 30,000 people that have had an adverse reaction to that vaccine and 200 deaths.
John, Thank you very much indeed for your question.
It's time for you to start doing the right thing, Mr. Rishi Sunak and the rest.
You've made a really strong point, John. Prime Minister.
Yeah, John, well, I'm very sorry to hear about your personal circumstances, and you said someone over here also seems to have suffered by a similar thing. Now, obviously, I don't know about the individual situation that you're in.
We're silenced.
Well,
on
I don't.
social media and everything.
Okay.
We are silenced. We are the most silenced people in this country.
Silence in the press because my story in the press had to go to the government for comment, and they made them take all the stuff out.
Forgive me both.
I know, I'm happy. No one.
Okay.
John, no one is saying. No one's saying you are.
Yeah. Okay.
I've lost my house, my wife, and a successful career.
And sir, you raised some very valid points, I'm sure. What I've got to say is, though, we haven't got you on microphone, and as you know, we've got to get through this. I'm sure we can raise your points with the Prime Minister at a later date. But in the meantime, Prime Minister, if you cover the issue.
I'm very happy to. So there is a vaccine compensation scheme that's in place, as you alluded to, in the NHS. Obviously, everyone individually will work through their cases. It's difficult for me to comment on anyone's individual case. I'm sure you'll appreciate that. I'm very happy to go and look at the cases, and I'm sure you'll get them to the team here. I mean, I'm very saddened and shocked to hear that you've been silenced by anybody. That is surprising to me, so please do get your details to Stephen and the team, and I will happily take that away. Of course, you should be able to speak about your experience, what's happened to you, and as I said, we have a compensation scheme in place for that, and I'll make sure that we're working through that. Obviously, I think you'll appreciate it's hard for me to comment on your specific circumstances, just not knowing them, and those things are...
Forgive me, sir, we haven't got a microphone like this, so our viewers and listeners won't be able to hear.
I think the last thing I'd say is, we went through a pandemic like everyone else. At the points when it came to the vaccine, those decisions were always taken on the basis of medical advice from our medical experts to tell us as politicians, who are obviously not doctors, about how best to roll out the vaccine, what was in the public health interest, the priority order, how that should be done, who should be eligible. That was something that the doctors recommended on, and that's something that we followed. Now, obviously, if there are individual circumstances which haven't worked out, then that's why we have the compensation scheme in place, and I'll make sure that we follow up on your cases.
Well, I'll tell you a couple things about that. One is, I love the guy keeps saying his name, Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak. Look me in the eye, Rishi Sunak. I love that moment. Oh, say their names. Isn't that the admonition from the left? Say their names. Good. Here's the name, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, COVIDian. Look me in the eye, Prime Minister, because we're, you're not better than me. We're right here. Mano a mano. Great moment. A couple of things about what Sunak said that are complete bull jive. They'll listen to the doctors. Typical politicians cover their ass, and then the medical professionals say, we just provide recommendations. It's politicians make the decisions. So, they both cover for each other, as we talked about for 3 years. Really, Rishi, did you consult with Professor Sunetra Gupta over at Oxford? No, right. She was one of the medical professionals. In fact, pre-COVID, one of the most renowned epidemiologists in the world silenced. Great Barrington Declaration signatory. Oh, and you don't know about this Scottish gentleman being silenced? What are you talking about? The British government, just like the U.S. government, was in the business of silencing dissent for 3 years. Lying. And the other thing, too, that Scottish gentleman said, we have no idea. Does anybody know what the size of the population of the vaccine injured is? You can extrapolate, I guess, from the VAERS self-reporting, but we don't have any idea in this country. And that Scottish gentleman just said 50,000 in Scotland alone. If that's right. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but oh my gosh, that's a big number. And that's going to be a big number in terms of the payouts, to the extent the United Kingdom's government lives up to this, whatever compensation scheme they've set up that Sunak was referring to. That's a moment right there, I think. For more on this and other topics, Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer at Spiked, author of the recently released Heretics Manifesto, Essays on the Unsayable. Perfect timing. Brendan O'Neill, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. So what about that? What about that exchange, that Prime Minister forum with, with the hoi polloi in UK and just that moment with that Scottish gentleman? That was something.
it was a very powerful exchange. And the one observation I'd add to your excellent observations on it is the accent. You know, the Scottish guy's accent is a very thick Scottish accent. It will be a very familiar accent to people in the United Kingdom. It's a very working class accent versus Rishi Sunak, who's quite plummy, quite well spoken, privately educated, comes from a very different sphere of society. So it did feel very much like hoi polloi speaking back to power and asking some pressing questions. So I thought it was a very powerful exchange. I think you're right to raise the problem of censorship during the COVID era. I think during the COVID pandemic, we witnessed a complete collapse of freedom of speech, of the right to dissent, of the right to ask questions. And in the UK, it was particularly bad. We know that people in officialdom were spying on journalists and other people on the internet and keeping a check on what people were saying. We know that the health minister here contacted Facebook directly and said, look, can you do something about people who are questioning aspects of the lockdown or questioning the vaccine rollout? And of course, you mentioned the Great Barrington Declaration, people like Sunitra Gupta and others who were demonized in the media here in Britain to an extraordinary degree. They were referred to as granny killers and COVID deniers and conspiracy theorists and lunatics. There was a complete clampdown on free discussion on the basis that we were in a crisis. But my view is that it's precisely when you're in a crisis that you need freedom of speech. You need open debate. You need to ask, is this the right thing to do? Is lockdown the right approach? If we'd had that kind of open, free discussion, we wouldn't be seeing some of the pernicious consequences of lockdown now in terms of kids' education, people's mental health, the backlog in the National Health Service, and so on. So the collapse of open debate, I think, was one of the worst things during the COVID era.
Did the government spy on you at all, or anybody that works for Spiked Online?
Well, we know that some people were, in some of the reports that were kept about people on the internet, some people were hauled over the coals for sharing spiked articles and spiked content because we were very lockdown skeptical right from the very beginning. We said, look, obviously we need to talk about this pandemic. We need to talk about how serious it is and who it poses a threat to and so on. But lockdown is not necessarily the right approach, and completely dismantling every single existing civil liberty is surely not the right way to galvanize the public or to convince us that we need to take action. So, yeah, we were making those arguments, and I know that there were people in positions of power who didn't like that and would rather that we just shut up and went along with it. But, you know, the right to dissent is probably the most important right in a civilized society, and the sacrifice of that right in the COVID era, I think, was terrible.
What do you know? Can you tell us about that yellow card system and the compensation scheme the British government has come up with for the vaccine injured? Because, I mean, gosh, even just admitting that that's a thing is progress over where we were not so long ago.
Yeah, so we have a yellow card scheme where people can report their adverse reactions. I myself had to fill one in, actually. Thankfully, my adverse reaction was far milder than that gentleman we just heard, the Scottish man. But I had a relatively severe adverse reaction in relation to skin rashes and things that I won't go into. It's gross. But thankfully it cleared up quite quickly. But it was, I think, what I discovered is that about 3% of people had the kind of reaction that I had. So yeah, people were invited to report these reactions or these injuries. But of course, there are some people who have had severe reactions and have suffered severe injuries. And some people we know have died as well. That is true. That is right. And I think the lack of discussion around this is really terrible. Now, you know, you don't have to go out there and say all vaccines are bad, you know, scrap modern medicine, give it all up. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is taking seriously the fact that lots of people had an adverse reaction, and some people, thankfully a fairly small number, had a very serious reaction. We do need to talk about that. And the compensation system here in Britain is not good enough. It's not fast enough. People are still waiting on their payments. These are people who may never work again. or whose loved ones died, whose husbands died, who the breadwinner in their household may have suffered. So these are people who need compensation, and it's not happening fast enough, and that's another problem.
Well, of course it's not. I mean, you have national, government-run healthcare system. Of course. I mean, you wait. It's the old P.G. O'Rourke joke. The good news about that gallbladder surgery, it's free. The bad news is you're never going to get it. I mean, that's that's Canada, that's the U.K., that's sort of backdoor where we are in the U.S. And so why would this scheme be any more responsive or attentive to British citizens than the overall healthcare system?
Yeah, and our healthcare system is far worse now post-COVID than it was even beforehand, because there is now such a huge backlog. Because in 2020 and 2021, the National Health Service became the National COVID Service. There were these massive adverts on the streets, very dystopian billboards saying, if you're not really ill, just stay at home. Don't bother the NHS. Let us get on with the job of tackling COVID. The consequence of that is that a lot of people didn't get cancer checkups. A lot of people, the number of people who died from stroke and heart attack at home, whereas normally they would have been in a hospital where they may have received some treatment or they may have died anyway. The number of people dying from those ailments at home has shot up enormously because people are steering, or they did steer clear of the health service. And lots of people are now predicting, including Carol Sikora, who's a very well-known oncologist here in the UK and is also a lockdown skeptic. They're now predicting that there will be a huge spike in cancer cases and cancer deaths in the coming years as a consequence of the shutdown of the health service during the COVID years. So this is what I mean by freedom of discussion and freedom of debate and the right of people to raise questions, because if we had done that during the COVID era, we could have come up with ways to ensure that people were still receiving the health treatment they needed. But discussion was discouraged and we were told to shut up and put up.
Well, is the madness still continuing? I mean, do you still have vaccine mandates there?
We don't anymore, thankfully, and the travel restrictions have eased enormously as well. I mean, one of the key reasons I got the vaccine, I got the first 2 shots, and then I had my adverse reaction. The key reason I got it is because of travel. There was a period of time when you couldn't leave the country and go to Europe unless you had proof of vaccination. So that was the main driver for me, and that's a form of pressure, I suppose, because you can't make choices in your life unless you agree to submit yourself to this medical intervention. So we had a kind of vaccine mandate. There was huge pressure on people. I think most people did it willingly, and most people were happy to do it. But thankfully, that era has now passed. We're no longer pressured to get the vaccine, and the lockdown rules and the mask rules have all gone. But unless we have an open discussion about whether it was the right decision and what the consequences of lockdown have been, there's the possibility, I think, that we might make that mistake in the future again. So we do need to have a real reckoning with what happened during the COVID era.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And people want to move on and it's behind us and just leave it there. But you have to have an accounting. I mean, the vaccine injured, first of all, are owed something because it was, I mean, technically, I guess you could say no, but I mean, as you said, the pressure was coming from every angle in civil life to get the vaccine. Otherwise, you can't work, you can't travel, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, I mean, it's essentially a government force that was brought to bear, compelling this, and now and a lot of people apparently had adverse reactions, and some very serious. So they're owed justice. In addition to that, sort of the accounting that you're describing. And that's going to be very difficult to report because you're certainly not going to get any help from the state. But yeah, the impacts that are hard to measure, that are hard to quantify, that are hard to localize to the lockdowns. But as more time passes and you can do a little bit of comparison over a period of time, then you can make some hypotheses about, are these lingering impacts, extended impacts of the decisions that we made that set off this daisy chain. I mean, that's the kind of reporting we need and the conversation that needs to be driven so that there is appreciation for just how damaging the decisions were that were made by these COVIDian lockdown politicians and frankly, medical professionals, too, who are behaving like politicians.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we're starting to see some of the impact of lockdown now, and also vaccine mandates. And there is so much to be said for modern medicine, and it has improved people's lives enormously, and it's improved people's lifespan. We all know this, but modern medicine works best when it is voluntary, and when you invite people to partake of certain medical interventions and you try to convince them that they will be beneficial and so on. But when you pressure people or force people or deny them certain rights if they don't agree to do something, that is always going to have bad consequences, because it makes people skeptical of medical power. So one consequence of the lockdown era is that we now have a huge problem in Britain of measles. There's been a spike in measles cases among children in parts of the Midlands here in England and in parts of the north of England as well, because uptake of the measles vaccine has plummeted to around 70% in some areas, and it needs to be around 90% in order to prevent a measles outbreak. Measles can be a very serious disease. It can have lifelong consequences, but because people are wary now of being pressured to get certain vaccines and being told by the medical establishment, you must do this or else the world will end, it's had all sorts of unpredicted consequences. So that's just one example. There are many other examples, like the fact that tens of thousands of children in Britain have not returned to the education system since COVID. They are lost. They're referred to as ghost children. The state presumes that they're just being kept at home, or that they're not suitable for education anymore because they fell behind so badly, or they just are reluctant to socialize with other kids. That's another consequence. If you shut down the education system for a year, that's going to impact very badly on kids' ability to learn and their ability to socialize. So we're starting to see the fallout from COVID. And I've even seen some politicians and journalists saying, well, we should have talked about these things. Yes, we should have, but too often they wouldn't let us.
Brendan O'Neill is the chief political writer at Spiked Online, and author of the recently released book, A Heretic's Manifesto, Essays on the Unsayable. Brendan O'Neill, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS is raising the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes, and further rate hikes are expected. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. So if you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. In fact, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you. You've watched the news. Rising crime has been affecting our everyday lives in Illinois more and more these days. Blue Star Security can protect you, your business, or your place of worship. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 900 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Jeffrey Salvetti, Vice President of Blue Star Security and a 15-year law enforcement veteran. The Blue Star team is made up of over 900 state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals. We serve businesses and private organizations with supply chain and special event security, and also protect our loved ones at places of worship and schools all across the Chicagoland area. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityllc.com. That's bluestarsecurityllc.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Wirepoints has a new report out that finds, the kids in K through 12 in Illinois, they're not doing the reading or the numbers figuring very well. That's 7:37.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
29 degrees at 7:32. Officials who are heavily involved in negotiations say Israel and Hamas are making some progress toward a deal that aims to free hostages. Key meetings continue today in the Egyptian capital of Cairo. The Senate has passed a $95 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan after almost a week of debate and growing political divisions in the Republican Party. Florida Senator Rick Scott was a no.
Do I want Israel aid? I do. Would I be okay with lethal aid if I knew what the plan was in Ukraine? I might be. But the way it's going, without a secure border, give me a break. I'm not doing that. There's drugs, terrorists, criminals, narco-traffickers coming into our country in droves, and this has got to stop.
A group of Republican senators who are strongly opposed to the $60 billion for Ukraine held the Senate floor overnight. Officials say Estonia's prime minister has been put on a wanted list in Russia because of her efforts to remove Soviet-era World War II monuments in that Baltic nation. A nor'easter clobbering parts of New England's coast, heavy snow, risk of flooding from New York all the way up to Boston. A federal judge has once again delayed the wire fraud and money laundering trial of William Sam McCann, a former candidate for Illinois governor. McCann was briefly hospitalized last week. Former state legislator Anjanette Collins was convicted Monday on 4 of 6 tax-related charges. Her attorney told reporters they did not agree with that verdict and they would appeal. Chicago police are investigating a home in Rogers Park where human remains were discovered Monday. It was in the 2800 block of West Fitch. And police in South Holland are investigating after 2 were found dead inside of a home. According to a statement from the village, a family member discovered the 2 inside the home in the 900 block of East 161st. Bulls over Atlanta last night, 136-126. They take on Cleveland next. Blackhawks back on the ice, facing Vancouver tonight. The news, a service of Ingrace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather's on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum sees more of the blame game.
The only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends.
Can you imagine how out of touch with reality these politicians have to be to think they can pull a fast one over on you? You cannot say that all of a sudden y'all pushed a loaded bill, Republicans did not want to do it, and all of a sudden this whole thing is our fault.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. Americans love their sports. An estimated 115 million Americans watched the Super Bowl. In a month, millions will tune into 3 weeks of March Madness basketball. And by the end of that, baseball season will be starting. If none of that interests you, hockey will continue into June, and the Summer Olympics in Paris will begin in late July. The contest that really matters this year, though, is the one in November. Those teams aren't playing for a trophy. The team that wins will control the most important free country in the world, trillions of dollars in spending, massive bureaucracies, and also determine American security at home and abroad. In the next few months, the team roster will be determined. On the Democrat side, the safe bet is Biden, although a quarterback change in August is possible. Democrats are hoping for such after the special investigator found that Biden violated the Espionage Act by taking classified documents and then said Biden is not mentally competent to stand trial. That obviously means Biden is also not mentally competent to be president. Biden should be benched and his number retired immediately. But the Democrats' second-string quarterback, VP Harris, is a political disaster. Never has America been so vulnerable. Attacks continue on our service members, the invasion continues on the southern border, inflation erodes buying power, and crime runs unabated in major cities. The big game will be played in November, and Americans need to investigate the candidates and assess their policies and principles as closely as their fantasy football picks. And when you find a player you can believe in, Support him or her like a superfan. I'm Jeannie Ives. Be informed. Listen to my radio show Sunday on AM 560 Chicago from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
Looking to give your home a one-of-a-kind makeover? It's time to think outside the box with Forever Remodeling. We're highly skilled to design and build kitchens, bathrooms, and basements using state-of-the-art 3D design software, customer communication software, and a dedicated project manager throughout your project. With Forever Remodeling, imagine a kitchen that's an extension of your personality, a bathroom that's a spa-like sanctuary, and a basement that's a canvas for your dreams. Reach out to us at 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Is your IRS tax debt making you feel anxious? The professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to negotiate your fresh start. Call them now, 800-230-5174.
7:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Eden's at 35 Lake Cook Road to the junction and backing up because of solid traffic on the inbound Kennedy. It's an hour from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. They've cleared an accident moments ago in the express lanes inbound at Montrose. Ike inbound, it's 1 hour, 390 into the old post office. Northbound 55, report of an accident in the cleanup stages. Northbound between 126 and Weber Road. Stevenson jam solid. Harlem to Kedzie, 55 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Accident on the Tri-State right lane block northbound between 75th and 47th, and delays are growing. Near in South Barrington, police activity. Barrington Road north of 68, and in Gurnee, report of an accident at Route 132 in the Tri-State, and a structure fire this morning in Elk Grove Village. A warehouse is on fire, Devon, east of Ellis. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sunshine, high of 41. Currently, we have 29 degrees. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That the music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org. All things Illinois policy related. You know, as I mentioned yesterday, totally understand Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx being at the Super Bowl to enjoy Usher and the game and everything, because she's basically got this office, the Cook County State Attorney's office back home, on autopilot. It's humming right along, so she doesn't need to be here all the time.
Well, she doesn't. I mean, since COVID, she doesn't go into the office hardly ever.
She doesn't
Maybe
need
2
to.
or 3 times a week, and that has not changed for her. But she's on her way out. Maybe she got the tickets, for the Super Bowl through Jussie Smollett. She has a relationship with him, and he's friends with Usher, so that now she's on the field. I mean, look at that.
Well, again, I'm sure Clayton Harris will be a continuation of the same.
Oh, yeah.
Upon his election,
right? Because
next month.
He wants her endorsement. Did you hear that?
Keon Thomas Kean Thomas is a Chicago high school student. He was on pretrial release for several juvenile cases, including aggravated carjacking and gun possession. Of course. Those aren't violent crimes, right, Governor Pritzker? Well, while he was on pretrial release, the 17-year-old shot and killed a classmate at an Inglewood gas station. So now he's detained, pending trial. Now he's detained. He's the 33rd person last year, 2023, because that's when this occurred, charged with murder or attempted murder or trying to shoot someone while on felony pretrial release. Again, 33 that represent 17 murders, 2 attempted murders of a police, 16 attempted murders, 3 aggravated battery with a firearm, 7 aggravated reckless discharge of a firearm. Total victims, 49.
Preventable crimes. So you gotta keep telling yourself that's what those are.
Not preventable under Pritzker's purge law. Nope. Number 2, this year, let's fast forward into 2024. Let's catch up.
Okay.
Tow truck driver opened fire on 2 competitors over a job, only to learn that the competitors were armed concealed carry license holders. They have prosecutors now charged the man with 2 counts of attempted murder. The 33-year-old is recovering from gunshot wounds he received during the altercation. He was on felony pretrial release at the time of the allegations, making him the second person charged in 2024 with murder, attempted murder, or trying to shoot someone while on felony pretrial release. Number 2, there'll be more. You can count on it. For more on this topic, because I heard on Mike Scott's newscast a lot of carrying on about from BLM Brandon about what he's doing to increase the peace on the streets, the usual bilge that we've become accustomed to. Ted Dabrowski joins us, president of wirepoints.org. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Welcome back, Amy.
Looking forward, WGN apparently got a note from a listener. WGN tonight is doing a little stop, look, and listen on the impact of the Pritzker Purge Law to this point. That's going to be really interesting, as our alert listener pointed out. I remember, and he reminded me, that WGN was one of the stations that wouldn't run my Pritzker Purge Law television ad, the Lakeview attack. All these stations that are now going to do a little assessment of the impact, and we know some of the impact based on the stories that we were just sharing. But now all of a sudden it's okay to talk about the mayhem on the streets of Chicago.
Yeah, it's okay to talk about it, more attention to it, but let's see what they do on their analysis. They probably won't embrace how big the problem really is, and I think just covering this Keon Thomas that you mentioned, that's just a great example. You've got a kid, aggravated carjacking. That means he had a weapon of some kind, gun possession, right? He gets out back on the streets, a young kid, sadly, 17-year-old, and then he turns around and shoots a classmate and kills him. This is, I think, I don't want to say the typical story, but it's a story that's played out over and over again, and thanks to CWB for bringing these things to life. As we saw the other day in what we reported, the jail populations are down, the electronic monitoring is down. So, what can you say? It's obvious what's happening. Everybody knows it. The media knows it. Let's see what they report on, but they have to continue to hide this stuff in some way. I mean, they're obviously reporting on it some, and it's better than what happens in reporting at the state level, but it's out there happening, and people know it, people are living it, and yet we're still playing this game.
Well, I mean, is there any chance that something might change when the March primaries come? I mean, Kim Foxx is not running, but is there? I mean, I know Bob Fioretti, he's a perennial candidate, but he's the general election. He's the Republican. I'm sorry, he's a Republican. Right, I'm sorry. But in the primary, you've got Clayton Harris, I believe is his name.
Clayton Harrison Burke.
Mm-hmm. He wants.
Well, I listened to some of the debate they had the other day, and it was kind of nice to hear. And again, I haven't followed her closely enough, but Eileen Burke, she said that what she wants to do is detain for murder, detain for gun possessions. She sounded pretty strong on it, but of course Clayton Harris is the one that has the backing of Preckwinkle. I would imagine that if that's true, if he has the backing of Preckwinkle, which he does, then that means he's going to be more status quo and toe the line. especially on the whole social justice. So probably no changes, and I think we just expect the same until people revolt in some way, but we don't have that yet.
No, we sure don't. And Eileen Burke, I mean, I don't know much about her, but she obviously sees a market position in that primary, but I don't trust her either. I mean, she's slated by the same people. She's backed by some of the same people that have been all over the place in terms of supporting these awful policymakers. So, I mean, don't place too much hope in Eileen Burke, who's a product of the machine, being some sort of change agent when it comes to this. I mean, it's just more the same, because, as you say, there's no. I mean, what's even the attention? I'd love to see what the name ID of those two candidates is right now. Well, how much attention Cook County residents are actually paying, and Chicago residents are actually paying to this Cook County State's Attorney's race. It is de minimis. I would suspect.
I totally agree. As I go around and I talk to people, nobody has any clue about this race.
Of course, why would they?
They won't know the difference between the two. And it's the most consequential race. We wrote about this 3 months ago, I think it was, trying to see whether people get inspired by it, and they don't. So despite the crime, despite the problems, people don't really understand how important this role is.
But they know Kim Foxx. They know in suburban Cook County, or at least some of the suburban Cook County North and Northwest, Kim Foxx is terrible, and Kim Foxx is this, and Jussie Smollett this, and Jussie Smollett that, and the releasing of violent crime. Yeah, you know all that. You probably don't even know she's out the door. You have no idea who the replacements are. You paid no attention, and then you're going to decry the lawlessness on the streets of Chicagoland some more. It's just so frustrating. It's without point, is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit reminding of just a year ago, and Lightfoot was this, Lightfoot was that, Lightfoot was that, and what did we get in her place?
Oh, we got
Johnson.
worse.
So.
Absolutely.
Makes me miss Lightfoot. Here's Harris, though. Here's Harris trying to, get the vote.
I am the balance, the bridge, the evolution of what has been going on, and we're going to move forward to ensure that our communities feel safe and that we're experiencing and doing or being safe through justice.
Do you want Kim Foxx's endorsement?
I would absolutely appreciate Kim Foxx's endorsement.
Well,
she did such a great job. Yeah.
Well, whatever. I mean, the endorsement means nothing. We're going to create safety through justice. He's spouting all of the non sequitur silliness and stupid bromides. He'll be fine. He'll be an adequate replacement. Let's continue the way things are. Of course, protect the status quo. Protect the inside. The appearance of change on the outside to protect the people on the inside. That's the play. It always has been. It always will be, because that's what people want. So they'll get it. This study that you did is going over to CPS, which is an incubator for all sorts of pathological and destructive behavior. This analysis you find about reading and math proficiency levels. Give us an update, as if we're going to be surprised.
Right. Well, so we did this report last year where we found, after looking at all that data, we looked at kids that can't read, kids that can't do math. Last year, we found a whole bunch of schools in Illinois where not a single kid who was tested could do math, and there was like 60 schools, 30 schools where they couldn't read at grade level. And so last week, I think it was, suddenly that old report got a lot of attention. Elon Musk had engaged with it. Ramaswamy engaged with it. Jordan Peterson engaged with it. So it was running around. So we said, well, let's do the update. And we did that. So now we found that there's 67 Illinois schools where not a single child tested proficient in math. And in reading, it was 32 schools where not a single kid tested proficient in reading. So, this is fascinating for a lot of reasons. And something we added to this analysis this year is that despite the fact that no kids can read or do math, graduation rates on average in these schools was 70%.
Of course.
So in other words, this kind of proves the point we've been making. It doesn't matter if they can read. It doesn't matter if they can do math. Just get them through the system. Many of these schools are spending $25,000 and $30,000 and $35,000 per kid. Again, I'm just repeating myself here. It's a system that's only made for it's a work program. they just take care of the kids a little bit and then push them out.
Well, what about holding the teachers accountable for pushing them through? I mean,
what do you mean? I suspect the teachers' proficiency rating or the teachers' grades are in the 98th or 99th percentile, right? Everything's fine with the teachers.
Yeah, the whole. This is why it's so broken. But yeah, the teachers will get, and a lot of these schools are called commendable, which is deserving praise is what it means. It's the second highest rating, so it's the same stuff. It's just another cut at how extreme it gets and how they can get away with it and nobody cares. If we didn't report this stuff, I don't know how we would know it, and we only got lucky because we were kind of searching for stuff, and there it was.
We're not supposed to pay attention to that. We're supposed to pay attention to this. Mayor Brandon Johnson has sent Illinois Senate President Donna Harmon. I'm doing my best, newsreader, mindless, mouth-breathing, idiot newsreader on any of the network affiliates in Chicago. Week after Mayor Brandon Johnson sent Illinois State President Donna Harmon a letter urging him to support the election of only 10 of the 21 school board seats this November. That's the mayor's plan. Ted Dabrowski, 10 of 21 should be elected, so he'll elect 10 and he'll appoint the other 11. What say you?
Well, so the big news was back in Lightfoot's days that they wanted to get the school board members, have 21 school board members elected by the people. But things changed when Brandon Johnson got control of the CTU, by the mayor, got mayorship, because suddenly, the CTU has control of the board now by the virtue of having Brandon Johnson picking board members. So now suddenly they don't want to do the races. They're going to end up, I think, probably doing 10 of the 21 to be elected by the people.
Pardon my Peter Griffin, but who the hell cares if they're elected or appointed? Yeah, it matters not.
Nothing. Yeah, it won't make a difference. It'll be the same, what kind of show. So it doesn't really matter, and the unions will control the votes anyway. So
yeah. Right, but this is what we're going to talk about. 10 versus 21, and there's a big row, and you're going to the debate will be between one phony good government group. David Griesing will come in from BGA and say, "Hey, wait a second, there should be all of them elected." We'll have this stupid conversation for stupid people that continue to make stupid decisions because they don't have enough self-respect to pay any attention, to connect any dots, to think for themselves. That's the sum total of it as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the adults in the system in Cook County, and I'm talking about in the suburbs, I mean, they are just as guilty as the Chicago Teachers Union for what's happening at those schools, for what's happening, these phony debates. They're as bad as the least capable, competent teacher or even grade school student in CPS. They're all children. The entirety of Cook County is nothing but children, except people who listen to this show, of course. Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org. Thanks for joining us as always, Ted. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560, The Answer.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Be sure to schedule your health assessment with my friends at Low T Center. They offer the convenience of physician-monitored, self-inject, at-home testosterone treatments with an average payment of $150 a month cash pay, including labs and medication. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy shipping treatments directly to you. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. That's Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. It's long past time for Congress to act to investigate the arguable incapacitation of the president. Americans have long known what Democrats and their enablers and elite media refuse to admit, that Joe Biden has entered a cognitive decline that renders him unfit for office. Robert Hur exposed the 3-year cover-up by the White House, Democrats, and media in his special counsel report. Her warned that Biden lacks the mental competence to demonstrate criminal intent beyond a reasonable doubt. In the same week, Biden told Democrat donors on 3 occasions that he'd spoken with 2 foreign leaders during his presidency who had died years before he took office. The White House and Democrats immediately went on offense to push back. Biden held a press conference in which he confused Egypt with Mexico and shouted at reporters for asking about his competence. The House needs to subpoena her and get the transcripts of Biden's interviews. Let's find out who's lying to whom about a clearly incapable president. I'm Ed Morrissey.
Patients everywhere are experiencing joint pain relief thanks to QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. So how does this non-surgical approach work? QC Kinetics Medical Director Dr. Aaron Wolkoff explains.
It's like when you get a paper cut and the cells that come onto that scene first stop the bleeding, and then it recruits more cells to form new skin and new soft tissue. And then you look down a week later, 2 weeks later, and it's like nothing happened and that paper cut never existed.
In this same way, QC Kinetics uses your natural biologics to help repair and restore aching knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
We take those same similar cells in different areas that are arthritic, are painful, and we cause this kind of internal self-healing that can resolve patients' pain.
Relief without surgery. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
Call QC Kinetics 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk about the shakeup at the RNC with former Wisconsin Governor, now Young America's Foundation President Scott Walker at 8:08.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
We're watching a fire develop in Elk Grove Village, Devon, in near Ellis in the warehouse district there. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
After an all-night debate, an early morning vote at the Senate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The yeas are 70, the nays are 29. The bill, as amended, passes.
It's a $95 billion security bill providing military aid to Israel and Taiwan, and 2/3 of it goes to Ukraine. Its president posted on X that U.S. assistance helps save lives as they fight Russian terror.
26 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 1 independent voted no. Some Republicans tried to filibuster the deal over a lack of border security provisions and the overall price tag. The bill now faces an uncertain future in the House, where Speaker Johnson has said he believes each part of the bill should be voted on separately.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. Tonight, the House will try again to impeach the head of Homeland Security, blaming Alejandro Mayorkas for allowing record illegal immigration, and this time they might succeed.
Republicans only had 215 yeas last week, but so did the Democrats. That's why the vote failed. However, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise is back from cancer treatments. It's doubtful that the 3 Republicans who voted no last week will vote yes.
As Fox's Chad Perkam. Democrats call it a sham, and Mayorkas will not be removed by the Senate. This happened again overnight.
A cargo ship that was traveling from Brazil, ironically to Iran, was targeted with 2 missiles launched from Yemen early this morning. The Houthis claimed the vessel was linked to the Americans, but in reality, this ship was Greek-owned.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. The U.S. has hit those Iran-backed militants in Yemen with airstrikes many times, trying to stop the attacks on ships. We just got an update on inflation. Consumer prices rose 0.3% last month. As for to the annual rate. Fox Business Network Cheryl Cassoni reports.
Year over year at 3.1, the street was looking for 2.9, which is better than last month. I just want to say last month the REIT was 3.4. Now you're getting a 3.1, but economists were looking for something weaker than that.
And the sell-offs in store on Wall Street. Dow futures down more than 300 points. America's listening to Fox.
29 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. And good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. Federal judge in Chicago has sentenced a former chief of staff to longtime House Speaker Michael Madigan to 2.5 years in prison for lying under oath to a grand jury to protect his once powerful boss. Timothy Mapes is to report to prison in mid-June to begin his sentence. Mike Madigan's trial is set to begin in October. Chicago police are investigating a home in Rogers Park where human remains were discovered Monday morning in the 2800 block of West Fitch. The family of a man shot and killed by Carroll Stream Police has viewed some body camera footage from officers involved and is demanding that the whole video be released to the public, claiming their worst fears were confirmed.
The video, what they did was unjustified. They went in there and they shot my brother in his sleep.
Family speaking for Isaac Goodlow, revealing he was bipolar and may have been suffering from a mental health episode. Chicago sports, DeMar DeRozan and Ayu Dosunmu combined for 58 to lead the Bulls to a win over Atlanta, 136-126. Cleveland is next. The Blackhawks back on the ice tonight, facing Vancouver. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs, and now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Coca-Cola's sales top forecast for the holiday quarter. The beverage giant was helped by higher prices, but it was still selling more of its products. Its earnings matched Wall Street estimates, and Coke sees business improving this year. Coca-Cola shares are higher. Hasbro shares are down 12% after a disappointing holiday quarter and a cautious forecast. Hasbro's gaming business improved, but its other businesses slumped. Hasbro lost money in the period. It is parent company of Monopoly, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. Burger King is doing better than expected earnings for its parent company Restaurant Brands top forecast. Beer maker Molson Coors quarter was upbeat. Wall Street will be reacting today to the Consumer Price Index for January. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosolda, invested in you.
8:04, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka picks apart the border bill.
In terms of the limitations, the numbers of illegals, 5,000 a day, that you're permitted when this bill is signed to let into America, you can't include people who are from other countries than Canada or Mexico, right? Non-contiguous, which is interesting because most of the illegals aren't actually coming from Mexico right now.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm here in San Diego. I mean, I surf, I'm active, I'm an ex-college athlete. Well, I decided, I'm going to try that Balance of Nature. Let's just see what happens. Like after about a month and a half, man, what a difference. That sold me right there. That's when I was like, this stuff's working, so I'm going to stick with it. And so I've been sticking with it ever since. And it's definitely helped, and I definitely feel good. Seems like to be the real deal.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
8:07, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. The Eden's a mess. 39 minutes in from Lake Cook Road to the junction. Partially backed up because of a heavy inbound Kennedy. 68 O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike Jam solid Manheim to Pulaski. It's an hour 15 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 1 hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan, 35 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Reagan, I-88 accident, left lane block, eastbound 88 between Route 25 and Raymond. Delays this morning in Libertyville. Gulf Road and Butterfield reported an accident. Gurnee, 2 lanes blocked on Route 132 eastbound just west of the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Periods of clouds and some sunshine today. The high at 41. Partly cloudy tonight, low 29. Clouds and breaks of sun, mild day tomorrow. The high 47. Rain or snow shower in the area on Thursday morning. Otherwise a cloudy day. The high 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
We're at 29. Next news update 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Boy, that's a Axios piece on the infighting in the Biden administration over the border was something to read. How Biden botched the border over at Axios. And, you know, Axios is a house organ for the Democrat Socialist Party, so they probably do have some of this actually right. They've got friends throughout the administration, to be sure. Some of the highlights. Biden exploded with rage at his team aboard Air Force One on the way to the border last year about how things were going. Susan Rice called HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra a bitch, ass, and idiot.
Oh, hello.
I like that. Reparation H, VP there, Kamala, she said her responsibilities began and ended with the root causes in the Northern Triangle countries. And a former Biden administration official saying Harris has been, at best, ineffective.
Oh, really?
Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall displayed an experience asking for a memo explaining the difference between refugees and asylum seekers. That's good to know. The White House generally didn't want to talk publicly about immigration or the border for much of Biden's first 3 years, feeling it would draw attention to a political vulnerability. Right. If we just ignore it, it'll go away. Publicly, the White House also downplayed jumps in illegal border crossings as normal ebbs and flows, even as some internally pushed to acknowledge that the problem was significant. Right. It was no big deal. We have a situation down there, ebbs and flows. Now it's a full-blown crisis, and we've done everything we can, and it's not our responsibility, as Ali Mayorkas, facing his second impeachment vote, said on Meet the Press over the weekend. Not our responsibility. It's been broken for a long time. Congress failed to act. Not my fault. Okay, sure. Good luck with that. For more on this and other GOP-related matters. We're pleased to be joined again by former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, now the president of the Young America's Foundation. Governor Walker, thanks for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Yeah, it's an invasion. He doesn't get it. It's an invasion at our southern border.
Well, I think it's actually worse than an invasion. I keep offering this distinction in response to that characterization. It's an importation by our federal government. It's purposeful.
Yeah.
They're the ones sponsoring
it's an invasion. It's why I stand with Texas. I stand with Greg Abbott. I think he's 100% right. And so many people in the media don't understand what the Supreme Court did. They did not rule against Texas being able to protect themselves and stop invasion, deportation, whatever you want to call it. They just said that the federal government, until this case worked itself out, could continue to send federal employees in to cut down the fencing and barbed wire that the state of Texas is putting up, which of course is counterintuitive. You're actually trying to solve the problem, and instead our federal tax dollars are going to counter the one elected official who's actually trying to do something about it, and that's the governor of Texas. It is absolutely insane, but it's part of not only part of the federal government doing this, but I worry it's part of what China is trying to do to take us on without even firing a shot. Put fentanyl into America, see all these kids overdose, do all these other crazy things that undermine this country without even issuing a military attack. It's unfortunately, I think, part of a larger plan.
Well, Governor Walker, what is the larger plan? I mean, are you saying that Biden has let these millions of people come in over the last 3 years to maybe build up the Democratic base?
Well, it's a combination of that. I think that's certainly where many on the left presumably like to see things at. I also think it's a problem. They're being an unnecessary ally. Peter Schweitzer's got a book coming out the end of this month. He's the one that did Red Handed 2 years ago. He did Clinton Cash. I believe he's going to document very specifically, after extensive research, the involvement of the Chinese Communist Party along the border and the impact that's happening. And again, if your goal, you're Xi Jinping, if you've got a long game, a long view to undermine America, he knows he can't compete against our military strength, at least at this moment. But they can certainly undermine us, not just at the border, but with TikTok, with all these other things going on. It is clear that there's a concerted effort against the United States. And at best, Joe Biden's a useful idiot in that regard.
So we've got some fissures in the GOP ranks, too. We had the Senate, thanks to 19 Republicans, move $95 billion foreign aid package, Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, Gaza, Ukraine again, out of the Senate today. It's DOA in the House, according to Speaker Mike Johnson. So there's that going on. And then there's a shakeup at the RNC with North Carolina chairman, GOP chairman, I guess Michael Whatley is going to take over. Michael, wasn't he Lord of the Dance? Oh, no, that was Michael Flatley. But it would be interesting to have Michael Flatley be the RNC chairman. Anyway, RNC chairman Michael Whatley from North Carolina and Laura Trump as sort of co-chairman. Is that what you understand is going to be the deal? And if so, how do you assess it?
Absolutely, that's exactly what's going to happen. Whatley's only been involved the last couple of years. He was in the private sector before all this. I think he gets it. I think he understands. I think it's part of the reason why Laura Trump's going to be the co-chair. That they've got to step up and listen to the base. They've got to push back. They can't be a part of the D.C. establishment, and that they've got to make the case that they're focused on winning this presidential election. They're going to put their resources in key battleground states like mine in Wisconsin. They're going to fight for specific competitive House seats, and they're only going to compete in states where they can win the United States Senate race. So I think they're going to be smart and prudent, but the left has got a ton more money, and it's going to take a massive effort to get back up on track.
Do you think they'll be good at attracting younger voters and attracting them to the Republican Party?
Well, yeah, I think with young people, the work I do at Young America's Foundation, we're not a campaign organization, but we work directly with students on campus and schools, even in middle school now. And what we're seeing is there's an opening out there that young people get it, that the economy is an absolute train wreck. It's a dumpster fire, and they blame Joe Biden. We just got to make sure that they understand that conservatives have a better plan, a better approach, that long-term they're better off with us. If we just make some inroads with the 18, 29-year-old voting crowd, we can win in places like Wisconsin and elsewhere across the country. And I think Michael and the rest of the new team will get that. But they also got to show they got to make steps to act on voter integrity now. They can't whine about it afterwards. They've got to be in court in states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, others across the country, in court now to force the court to force these elected officials to actually follow the laws. The problem in 2020 wasn't that the laws were bad. The problem was that too many of these big city election officials didn't follow the law.
Right. So it's a matter of now, at this stage, it would be making sure that the voter rolls are accurate and that they've abided their responsibilities to clean them after the last cycle, and then preparing for early voting as it starts, past Labor Day in every state, but in just, the proximity to the election differs. But having a program ready to go and monitoring going on in real time over that early voting period. So if there is anything that is out of the ordinary or suspect, then they're in court straight away to deal with it, in real time.
Well, exactly. And I think there's tons of patriots across America who are willing to help out, not only in their own states, but as you guys know, I had a ton of people, for example, from Illinois come up when I was in a recall because they knew what was at stake in that recall election. I think the RNC's got to be on point saying if you're in a state where maybe you're not going to win statewide for the Republican nomination, or not nomination, but you're not going to Trump's going to be the nominee. Let's just be clear. If you're not a state that Trump can win, or you're not a state where you got a U.S. Senate race we can win, then either target House seats that are competitive in your state or send your volunteers to other states, again, like Wisconsin, where it actually will matter in terms of who the next president is. We need state and national party leaders willing to do that instead of this kind of, shotgun approach where everything goes. No target. We got a handful of states, 5 to 6 states that will elect the next president, put our time, our resources, our volunteers there. And then we've got a handful of House seats that will determine whether or not Republicans keep the House majority. Focus your attention on that. And if we're lucky, along the way, we pick up the U.S. Senate. But it's got to be a targeted effort. And I think we've got to show the base that this national party, the RNC's actually got a plan. And I hope that's what Michael does. I think he's capable of doing it. He did that in North Carolina. He really involved and energized the base in that state. And they had some massive turnarounds with their state Supreme Court. I hope the same thing's true nationally.
And you believe? Sorry. Go on.
And the RNC National Committeeman, Republican National Committeeman for Illinois, Richard Porter, who has said he made a good observation too that Lara Trump's star power will help with fundraising, and as a spokesperson, she's good. She's good on her feet. She's good on TV, and obviously there's some star power to try to make up that deficit you were talking about in terms of Dem cash versus GOP cash.
Right. You got to motivate people that it makes a difference. I think right now there's a lot of people, right or wrong, and it's a tough job, feel like the RNC isn't listening to them, isn't doing the things that they want. I think the new leadership, particularly with Laura, they'll realize the connection to the presidential campaign. I think they'll step up. But there's a lot of work that's got to be done. They also need to step up. I wrote this in the Washington Times last week, what I thought the new chair needed to do. And a part of it as well is reaching out to non-traditional voters. Donald Trump did a phenomenal job reaching out to Black and Hispanic voters. We need to step it up with younger voters. I think there's an opportunity, again, with the economy and with the border. These are issues that people of all ages care about, but we've got to have a compelling message. They're ready to move away from Joe Biden. They realize that Joe Biden is a train wreck. They realize that he's not competent. They realize that he's incapable of leading the country. Now we just got to show them that conservatives have a better approach going forward.
So the survey that you did, or that Young America's Foundation did, that finds by almost 2-1 college students said Biden is not fit to be president. If that's the case, and we know what the numbers are nationally, the more like 75 to 85%, then should the Republicans stop talking about it? And if Joe Biden says he's mentally fit, that's up to people to decide. People can decide for themselves. We're not talking about it anymore. We're talking about the interests of the people that we're running to serve, and that has nothing to do with Joe Biden or his mental fitness. That's up to the people to decide. So let's leave it there. And if it's so manifestly obvious, which it is, then why continue to beat that drum?
Yeah, I think there's two things that conservatives we need to be talking about. One, that Joe Biden and everybody else just has bad ideas. That this is not just because of his age. It's not just because of his inability to be competent. He's always had bad ideas. Even 40 years ago when he was first running for president at the end of the Reagan administration, he's got bad ideas. Liberals have bad ideas. We don't want any more bad ideas. And I think that's the sort of thing that resonates. Then we have to contrast that with, so what are our ideas? How do we make life better? And we've got a compelling case. We've shown that it worked. It worked under Reagan. It worked under Donald Trump's first term when he went out and aggressively cut taxes, reined in the federal government. Part of the problem why inflation, one of the driving forces for why inflation is so high, is of course because federal spending is just out of control. We need to get it under control, and that should be part of what Republicans are talking about.
Scott Walker, President and CEO of Young America's Foundation, former governor of Wisconsin, of course, and presidential candidate as well. Governor Walker, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Great to be with you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
For armed or unarmed security, average isn't good enough. You deserve more. You need more.
Morrison means more.
Morrison Security. More deterrence and prevention with customized programs that fit your budget. Cost-effective, sensible solutions for all businesses and facilities.
Morrison means more.
More peace of mind, knowing your security guards are well-trained professionals with a track record of getting results and serving exactly your needs. Morrison Security personnel are constantly trained for readiness and are prepared for any given situation that can occur at a job site.
Morrison means more.
More reliability of management for quick and effective solutions at your property. Morrison Security is responsive. They're always available to you.
Morrison means more.
More awareness of any challenges you face with protecting people, property, and assets. For armed and unarmed security, don't settle for substandard or average. Security is too important. Contact them and find out how you can get more. MorrisonSecurity.com. MorrisonSecurity.com.
Morrison means more.
All right. Are you sick and tired of the chronic pain in your joints, but you dread the idea of surgery? Then you need to call our good friends at QC Kinetics today. Listen, the state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas of steroids, cortisone shots, surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain from arthritis or injury. Well, don't let this pain keep you from living your best life. QC Kinetics' advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. So make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility and independence. Walk and run, play and live without the danger and trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. The number to call is 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955.
As a business owner, do you have a strategy for exiting your business? Most business owners don't. Studies done by the Exit Planning Institute show 75% of business owners who don't have an exit plan are dissatisfied with their exit, and 80% of businesses put to market never sell. Total Clarity Wealth Management understands the hesitation to discuss exiting. Will customers leave? Will competitors take advantage? Will key employees leave? That's why they offer confidential planning. Contact Anne-Marie at Total Clarity Wealth Management. Discover what the financial foundation should be to pursue an exit that is satisfying. At some point, you are going to leave your business. Will it be on your terms? Total Clarity can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Anne Marie's a certified exit planning advisor. Visit TotalClarityBusiness.com. That's TotalClarityBusiness.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
All right, listen up. AM 560 is excited to welcome All-American Collegiate Swimming Champion and women's sports advocate Riley Gaines to Chicagoland for a huge event on Friday, March 22nd at the Belvedere Banquets in Elk Grove Village, Friday, March 22nd. As you know, Riley has been at the forefront of the fight for fairness and equity in women's sports after she was forced to compete against a biological male swimmer. Hear Riley tell her story and learn what she's doing to advocate for female athletes at all levels of competition. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/tickets. 560theanswer.com/tickets. At this event, we'll be sitting down on stage with Riley, and she'll be taking your questions. You don't want to miss this exclusive event. And if you're the parent or grandparent of a young girl who participates in sports, this is a great opportunity to bring them with you. There are VIP tickets available for a very special meet and greet photo opportunity with Riley. So don't wait to buy your tickets. Get yours today at 560theanswer.com/tickets. That's 560theanswer.com/tickets. Sponsored in part by Blue Star Security and Opum Tax Advocates and attorney Stephen A. Leahy.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
If you're looking for a new couch, you could cut down on expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Because you know you've had this couch for too long. Sure, you've had good times together, but a ripped-up cushion is not a fond memory. It's a sign. Notice how other people have couches with 2 armrests? Now that's living, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new couch. Please, it's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
There are some times when the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how hard the life it is for us. It's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
You can step into the despair of a mother like Lourdes. For the past 40 years, Food for the Poor has linked generous listeners like you to desperate families throughout the Caribbean and Latin America. Today, your generous gift is an answer to a mother's prayer for her children's survival. Right now, because of a meal-for-meal match, a one-time gift of $160 or just $14 a month provides 4 hungry children with food for the next year. So, how many children can you rescue? Make your gift safely and easily by clicking the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com. Again, make your best gift by clicking the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, we'll talk to former CIA analyst Fred Flight. That's 8:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. The one and only Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
8:30 on AM 560, The Answer. And officials say Israel and Hamas this morning are making some progress on a deal that aims to bring about a ceasefire and free hostages held in the war-ravaged Gaza Strip. The Senate has passed a $95.3 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan after almost a week of debate and growing division in the Republican Party over that bill. Florida Senator Rick Scott.
Do I want Israel aid? I do. Would I be okay with lethal aid? If I knew what the plan was in Ukraine, I might be. But the way it's going, without a secure border, give me a break. I'm not doing that. There's drugs, terrorists, criminals, narco-traffickers coming into our country in droves, and this has got to stop.
A small group of Republican senators opposed to that bill, especially the $60 billion for Ukraine, held the Senate floor through the night. A nor'easter expected to clobber parts of the New England coast with heavy snow, risk of flooding in parts of Pennsylvania and southern New York. Also, winter weather warnings for Arkansas, Oklahoma, parts of Missouri, and Kentucky. Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash drivers are set to strike on Valentine's Day. Driver groups say they're seeking fair pay. Federal judge in Chicago has sentenced Tim Mapes, former longtime chief of staff to Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan, to 2.5 years in prison for lying under oath to a grand jury to protect his once powerful Democrat boss. A federal judge has again delayed the wire and fraud and money laundering trial of William Sam McCann, a former candidate for Illinois governor. Former state legislator Anjanette Collins was convicted Monday on 4 of 6 of tax-related charges. Her criminal case also the latest to stem from the sprawling federal investigation into former Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and allies, who've been sharply criticized around the country for their fumbling of the migrant crisis and bad messaging, are pushing back hard, but through friendly media. Johnson spoke to seniors Monday and ticked off what he called accomplishments, something a shadowy pack also did in a full-page ad in the Chicago Sun-Times over the weekend.
People are excited about what we've delivered over the last 10 months, as they should be. $250 million into the unhoused, $100 million for violence prevention.
And police in South Holland continue investigating this morning after 2 were found dead inside of a home on Sunday in the 900 block of East 161st. Bulls beat Atlanta 136-126 last night. Cleveland is next. The Blackhawks back on the ice at the UC facing Vancouver. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock. Listen now, danandamy247.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I like your product. Your product is great. I'm 75 and it works well for me.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old and it's really made a difference. It feels good.
Oh, I just feel better. I can tell the difference.
I stay like a teenager because I walk 2 miles every day, me and my husband. I mean, you can't go wrong with this product, I tell you.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Cooler weather is here. Is your vehicle ready for the winter? Remke's Garage, your diesel engine and transmission specialist, can inspect your vehicle so you won't end up on the side of the road. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's Garage is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. When was the last time you changed your filters, checked your batteries, inspected your tires, belts and hoses, or flushed your coolant? Be prepared. Bring your Mercedes Sprinter, Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, or Isuzu diesel truck to Remke's Garage and have your tires inspected as well. Ask about the fleet-worthy commercial-grade Toyo Celsius Cargo all-weather tire. The premier tire to accommodate the rainy, icy, snowy, and cold weather we encounter here in the Chicagoland area. Don't get stuck. Remke's Garage is your diesel and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit remkesgarage.com, that's REMKES garage.com, and schedule your inspection today.
Imagine what your future looks like. Is the picture a little blurry?
Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Alpha Wealth Group. When we look ahead, we're visualizing where we want to be, and for retirement, that can be hard without a written financial plan. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help you bring your retirement picture into focus. For decades, Tom has been crafting customized financial strategies. His goal is to help you protect your savings, grow your wealth, and create an income strategy you cannot outlive. If you're nearing or already in retirement, it's time to get your plan on paper. So bring your readers and let's take a look at it closely. Call Tom at 630-934-1855 and schedule a complimentary retirement consultation. There is no cost. There is no obligation. This is a chance to get a clearer view of your retirement. The number again is 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
8:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Discover. If you like using debit over credit, shouldn't you also get rewarded? Well, now you can with Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cashback on everyday purchases. No fees, period. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Eden's 27 Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy staying a solid hour 16 from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange this morning. The Ike Jam solid 25th to Damon. It's an hour 15 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson on the inbound side due to an earlier accident on the exit ramp. You've got delays near DuSable Lakeshore Drive. On the inbound side, Dan Ryan 35 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State northbound due to an earlier accident. Big delays, Archer up through the Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sunshine with a high of 41, 31 right now. Your next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I'm a bit perplexed. The big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, did a joint presser with King Abdullah II from Jordan.
Yeah.
Talking about the situation in the Middle East and Gaza. This is after he said in that presser on Thursday night that Bibi Netanyahu's response to the Hamas terrorist attack of October 7th is over the top. He added this.
The past 4 months, as the war has raged, the Palestinian people have also suffered unimaginable pain and loss. Too many of the over 27,000 Palestinians killed in this conflict have been innocent civilians and children, including thousands of children. And hundreds of thousands have no access to food, water, or other basic services. Many families have lost not just one, but many relatives and cannot mourn for them, even bury them, because it's not safe to do so. It's heartbreaking.
So then, given that, why would you be demanding $11 billion in aid to Israel?
He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth.
And then we'll throw a couple billion to Hamas. I mean, they'll say the residents of Gaza, but it goes to United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which basically operates as some sort of half-assed front group for Hamas. What tunnel below our HQ? Wow. Where did this come from? 14 people have to be fired, 12 or 14 people have to be fired from that agency because they were active participants in the plotting and providing of material support for the terrorist attack. This is what has, I think, regular Americans perplexed if they've read into this at all. It's sort of the same thing that we talked about with Ukraine and Russia. We need another $60 billion to Ukraine, and we also need to continue to cripple our domestic energy sector so that we can enrich the Russians and the Iranians. Huh? What? Which side are we on? Are we even on our own side? It's hard to keep track. For more on this, Fred Fleitz joins us, Vice Chair of the America First Policy Institute, Center for American Security. He previously served as National Security Council Chief of Staff, a CIA analyst, and a House Intel Committee staff member. Fred, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.
Yeah. So, right, the jawboning of Bibi by Biden, but yet if you don't vote for this $95 billion, that's mainly for Ukraine, and then second place is Israel, and on down the line, then you're a Putin stooge, you're letting Gazans suffer, you're not supporting the Israeli attempt to eradicate Hamas, you're not doing a lot of things that are all going to get fixed with $95 billion.
Yeah, I think you have it right. Netanyahu has made it clear that if the Israeli Defense Forces are not able to move into the Rafah area and to destroy the final 4 Hamas battalions, people who were saying they should call this off are basically calling for Israel to lose the war. This is essential to the war. Israel is going to make provisions to move people out of the way. And I know the war is horrible. Israel didn't start this war, but Israel is going to stop it. People forget the genocidal attacks on Israeli citizens on October 7th, the fact that Hamas is still holding hostages. And, I mean, we know what's going on with Biden. We know that his progressive left is furious about the war. This is hurting Biden badly in the polls. And the Democratic Party wants this war over immediately, because if it isn't over immediately, they know they're going to lose the presidential election to Donald Trump.
Well, and so then what? I mean, the House Republicans, just on this foreign aid package, this is being hotly debated, and there's obviously schisms within the GOP ranks per the 19 senators who voted out of the Senate, helped voted out of the Senate. So the House Republicans, Speaker Johnson has said it's DOA. What should their posture be?
Well, I mean, House Republicans are saying that there has to be a decent bill on the border. The last bill was not a good bill. I know there's some Democrats, some in the media who said that it was. And Biden is getting away with being able to keep the border open through this bill. That's why House Republicans aren't for it. They want a serious bill, serious language protecting the border. That means ending amnesty, returning to remain in Mexico, and other provisions to take care of this border influx of illegal migrants. But we also know that Biden could close the border now. I mean, the legislation might be a cover for him, but he's not going to close the border just because legislation passes. It has to be legislation with real teeth.
The just this whole sort of concept of and this K.T. McFarland and others have really been beating this drum. You know, we can cripple our enemies, Russia, Venezuela, Iran, by just focusing on the investment and development of our own domestic energy, our own sources of domestic energy. And it turns out that also is relevant with respect to rare earth minerals, which we spent a lot of time talking about and thinking about during COVID. Oh my gosh, the lack of a supply of chips because China has all the rare earth minerals, and we need to decouple from China and be more independent so we're not beholden to them, and so on and so forth. And then just last week, the U.S. could soon surpass China as the world leader in rare earth minerals after more than 2.34 billion metric tons were discovered in Wyoming. That deposit far outpaces what China has in terms of the aggregate amount. So, I mean, it's like we have all of the wherewithal to be independent rather than to be an underwriter of our enemies, and yet we don't do it. There's not a lot of discussion about this. I haven't even seen that much coverage of this discovery in Wyoming. What gives?
Katie's a friend, and she's absolutely right that the way to beat our various enemies is to develop rare earth minerals and to drill, baby, drill. But the reality is that's not going to happen before January 2025, and only if there's a Republican president. The Biden administration is not going to step up domestic energy production. It's not going to go against the environmentalists and get these minerals out of the ground. It's a great idea and concept. We should be talking about it. But this administration is not interested in doing the things that are necessary to fix our economy and to fix our energy consumption.
Your take on the Robert Hur report, and particularly this has been an underreported piece of it. I think you started to get into it a bit in the piece I read over at Newsmax. But Margot Cleveland had a piece in the Federalist as well, Federalist.com. I know everybody's focused on Biden's mental fitness or lack thereof for obvious reasons, but if you actually go back and look at the indices in the report, it turns out a lot of the documents that were ostensibly illegally in his possession had to do with Ukraine. And so now we have another angle into the Biden Incorporated operation and his material support of Hunter's overseas ventures.
I think that's a good point. I say at the outset that if I had done a small portion of what Biden did, I had classified high-level clearances for a long time. I would have lost my clearances. I would have had high legal bills. I would have been fined. I may have went to jail. But if your name is Biden or Clinton, there are different rules. If you take classified documents home with you, remember there were classified documents on Hillary Clinton's home server. I think it's disturbing to see what documents were brought to Biden's home and office. And I don't think this was done deliberately. I know that's what Biden claimed. He said that the documents were in locked cabinets in his house. No, they weren't. Read the report. There's documents in drawers. There's documents in a deteriorating box in the garage. And some of them were on Ukraine. And we know that Hunter Biden had access to his father's home. Did he look at any of these documents? Were they there for him? We just don't know.
I mean, do you think it's just another example of how he's compromised by Ukraine?
You know, I haven't been one to say that Biden's been compromised. I'm as a CIA analyst who's seen my agency wrong so many times, I'm not making that jump. I'm prepared to argue about it. I think that this is an incredibly incompetent president who's been incompetent about national security his whole life. Bob Gates wrote about that in 2011, that Biden was wrong about national security for 40 years, and that's when Biden was a young man. So whether Biden's been compromised by China or Ukraine, I think we need to talk about that. But at a minimum, this is a man who made climate change our top national security concern. And I tell you, the Chinese were just delighted with that. They're happy that we send representatives to China to talk about that rather than the COVID virus or Taiwan or the South China Sea.
You're talking about your former agency, I'm on the CIA specifically, and this is sort of the intelligence apparatus generally, which includes but not as limited to the CIA. It was interesting, Tucker Carlson, after his interview with Putin, I mean, pre his interview with Putin, in the preview to it, and then post in this conference in Dubai that he's at, this sit-down he gave, talked about how here we go again with the Obama administration's surveilling journalists or talk show hosts, whatever, improperly trying to interfere in expressions of freedom of the press, which I believe is still enshrined in the First Amendment. And Carlson said he'd been trying to get this interview with Putin for 3 years, and the Biden administration had been monitoring his emails, had been intercepting, had done enough that it came to the attention of the Russians, and it spooked them such that it took him 3 years to get this interview with Putin. And when he discovered, and it was confirmed, that they had been meddling with his communications, you know, he sort of redoubled the efforts to get the interview because of obvious reasons. I mean, just this whole conversation again, from Eric Holder and James Rosen to the Twitter files to Tucker Carlson to this cyber threat intelligence league that we're hearing about. I mean, the intelligence apparatus within the federal government and how central this should be to the conversation in the run-up to November.
I wrote 3 articles for the Federalist, I think it was last year, on how an NSA whistleblower revealed that NSA was spying on Tucker Carlson. It's not up for debate. They were clearly doing this. And I think it had to do with the Biden administration worried about Tucker Carlson's communications with Russia, which as a private citizen he's allowed to do. But as a journalist, it's a different matter. And there'll never be any accountability for this. There'll never be any investigations. But go to thefederalist.com, look up Fred Fleitz, and you'll find at least 3 articles where I go over this.
And the these other moving parts where we're getting new information on a regular basis from the investigative work of Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger and others. These cutouts like NewsGuard, they're trying to get ahead of the Missouri v. Biden decision that's coming down, where per the Twitter files, where the government was impressing upon social media companies what they wanted them to do in terms of censoring this person and deleting this comment and so forth. And now they're just going to outsource it to a bunch of former Intel people like General Hayden, who don't need any instruction from the federal government. They know what to do. And so we still have this huge problem of the big tech collaboration with the Intel community to suppress within those circles, unpopular viewpoints.
Our intelligence agencies really have to be cleaned out. We have to have a new president to put in decisive leadership to restore them to the role that they're supposed to play in promoting our national security, not meddling in domestic politics. And the whole workforce has to understand what the culture has to be. The culture isn't resistance. It's not helping Democrats and hurting Republican presidents. I was a CIA analyst for 19 years, and I'm afraid that's what I saw. And it got much worse starting with the Obama administration. Unfortunately, the Trump administration did not clean out our intelligence agencies. I think if Trump is reelected, there will be some major house cleanings.
Yeah, hopefully a lesson learned. Fred Fleitz, Vice Chair of the America First Policy Institute Center for American Security, previously served as National Security Council Chief of Staff, also a CIA analyst and a House Intelligence Committee staff member. Fred, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Kent Mercado, and I'm running for Congress in the 11th District. I'm a physician, attorney, humanitarian, father, and husband. And I have had the privilege of speaking with several thousand residents, and I've heard your concerns. And they are kitchen table issues: the economy, education, safety, and secure borders, access to quality and affordable physical and mental health care. I'm here to be your voice. Please vote for Dr. Kent Mercado for Congress on March 19th in the Republican primary.
This message was paid for and approved by Dr. Kent Mercado for Congress.
All right. Did you know that the biggest source of energy loss in your home is not your windows? No, it's your attic. Permaseal is thrilled to announce their latest innovation in home comfort, their attic insulation service. Attic insulation is designed to maximize energy efficiency, ensuring your home stays comfortable year-round. You can trust Permaseal installers to install your new insulation with precision and care. They'll ensure that your attic is properly insulated for optimal results. Now, if you're not testing, you're guessing. Permaseal certified installers use digital imaging cameras and a blower door test. Whoa! So they can get right to the source. More comfort. Insulation helps your home stay cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. Old insulation can contain dust, mold, and other contaminants that are adversely affecting your family's health. So call Permaseal today for a free consultation, 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
This President's Day, honor the legacy that shaped America with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. At AMAC, we celebrate the courage and leadership that built our nation. In honor of President's Day, enjoy our exclusive sale. Become a 5-year AMAC member for just $35. That's right, $35 for a 5-year membership. As a member, enjoy benefits tailored for mature Americans, resources, exclusive discounts, trusted news, games, sweepstakes, and a powerful voice for your rights. Join us in honoring our nation's leaders. Visit amac.us/president for this special President's Day offer during the month of February. Seize the opportunity to become part of a community valuing the experience, wisdom, and principles that make America strong. Head to amac.us/president and secure your 5-year membership for $35 today. AMAC, better for you, better for America. Happy President's Day from the Association of Mature American Citizens. Visit amac.us/president now.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Be sure to schedule your health assessment with my friends at Low T Center. They offer the convenience of physician-monitored self-inject at-home testosterone treatments with an average payment of $150 a month cash pay, including labs and medication. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy shipping treatments directly to you. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. That's Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. It's long past time for Congress to act to investigate the arguable incapacitation of the president. Americans have long known what Democrats and their enablers and elite media refuse to admit, that Joe Biden has entered a cognitive decline that renders him unfit for office. Robert Hur exposed the 3-year cover-up by the White House, Democrats, and media in his special counsel report. Hur warned that Biden lacks the mental competence to demonstrate criminal intent beyond a reasonable doubt. In the same week, Biden told Democrat donors on 3 occasions that he'd spoken with 2 foreign leaders during his presidency who had died years before he took office. The White House and Democrats immediately went on offense to push back. Biden held a press conference in which he confused Egypt with Mexico and shouted at reporters for asking about his competence. The House needs to subpoena Hur and get the transcripts of Biden's interviews. Let's find out who's lying to whom about a clearly incapable president. I'm Ed Morrissey.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I like your product. Your product is great. I'm 75, and it works well for me.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old, and it's really made a difference. It feels good.
Oh, I just feel better. I can tell the difference.
I stay like a teenager because I walk 2 miles every day, me and my husband. I mean, you can't go wrong with this product, I tell you.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions are made locally by a team who knows your name, cares about your business, and is invested in your success. When you need advice about your business or even have a question, Signature Bank is there to help. There are no handoffs or call centers. This is a team that wants to get to know you and your business. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. When I call, someone picks up the phone on the other end. And with Signature Bank, I can securely bank anywhere, anytime. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630. That's 773-467-5630. Or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. Signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Wanted to talk about the Super Bowl, but we don't have any time.
Yeah, past post.
Past post? No. Do you think they're going to tie the knot, or do you think it's over with Dan?
You're talking about Usher? He got married to his girlfriend after he did the halftime show.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. I was trying to find it in France, the thing. So, that's great. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
That halftime show was...
Hopefully the 3rd or 4th time I've lost track will be the charm for Usher.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Former Madigan insider gets 2.5 years. Another Chicago Democrat sentenced after a federal fraud trial. And the Bulls winners in Atlanta. WIND Chicago News Time, 9 o'clock.
Stocks are dropping big because inflation isn't dropping enough. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The Dow's plunging more than 500 points, down from its record high after this report this morning.
Inflation came in hotter than forecast last month. The Consumer Price Index for January rose 0.3%. For the year ending in January, the increase was 3.1%. But the readings are all showing smaller improvement than forecast by economists.
Fox's Ginny Casola. Early this morning, the Senate approved a $95 billion bill providing military aid to Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan, hailed by Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
It's not just our national security, not just the security of our allies, but the security of Western democracy.
But some Republicans spent all night on the floor speaking out against the bill. Senator J.D. Vance tells Fox.
There is nothing that will be served by sending another $61 billion to Ukraine. There's no path to victory.
It's unclear if it can pass the House. Republicans are critical it doesn't include border security provisions. Tonight, the House plans to try again to impeach the head of Homeland Security, accusing Alejandro Mayorkas of not enforcing laws and allowing record illegal immigration. Democrats call it a sham, and Mayorkas is